Hi, everybody. I'm going to start on camera tonight, and hopefully it's not too grainy. As you know, most of you know who have been here with us, in and out, that when Keith and I host the show for Tyler and Patricia, our internet is not great. So hopefully it'll hold out for a little bit while I greet everybody, say hello. So glad to see all of you tonight. Welcome, and glad you're here joining us. For those of you that don't know, this is Tyler Feller's channel. Myself and my husband, Keith, and Patricia, do co-host for Tyler, usually one night a week while he's out doing the movement church work. And right now he is on the living room tour with Tisha, some other people from Movement Church, and they're kind of traveling all around the United States doing living room church. And so since he's on the road tonight, and since we were working on our question list last night, and it was going really, really well, but we didn't get super, super far, we're going to pick that back up tonight. So Patricia hopefully will be joining me in a little bit, but we are going to return to that question list. And for those of you that weren't here with us last night, what we're doing is we're using the Facebook official timeline. And we know there's a lot of speculation out there. We know there's been a lot of interviews with Kurt Wadsworth, with Kurt's daughter, I think it was. And Salty has done some interviews. Candace has done some interviews. There's been a lot of interviews out there. But what we're doing is we're taking that official Facebook timeline that's on the official Missing Dylan Rounds page. And from that timeline, we're coming up. Thank you so much, Cheryl. A way to get us started. So appreciate it. And that brings up a good point as I'm describing this, or as I'm explaining what we're doing. And Cheryl was so kind to give the first super sticker. Is I want everybody to know this is Tyler's channel. The nights that Keith and Patricia and I do this for Tyler, that we fill in for him to give him a night off, all of the super stickers, all of the super chats, all of the donations made, everything, all the memberships, everything goes straight to Tyler. We don't take any percentage of that for ourselves. It's just our way of helping support Tyler and Movement Church and the mission behind Movement Church and what Tyler is out there doing. So just want to make sure that's clear, that everything that comes, by way of super chats, super stickers, donations, etc., all goes straight to Tyler, to the ministry, and we don't take any of that. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. And Cheryl, thank you again so much for getting us started. But did just want to say for sure that we know that a lot of these questions, in the questions, in the very nature of a question, it's going to be speculation, right? But we're taking the official timeline and we're saying, okay, if this is what the official timeline is, then what does this mean? What could that mean? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all the questions that come into our mind, that pop into our mind about that official timeline and the things that are being officially said. And so I'm going to start in just a minute by going through what we came up with last night. And this is going to be very interactive. Last night was a really, really good stream because so many people in the chat were really participating and were giving their questions that they have in their mind about these things in the official timeline. And it was making other people think of other questions. And it was just a really, really good, productive night. It was very calm. It was very drama free. It was a really good brainstorming think tank type session of what are all the questions that need to be answered. Deborah Ann, thank you so much for the super sticker. I know we all appreciate your support. I know Tyler does as well. Thank you very much. And as Sweet Caroline said, please be sure and hit the like button if you would. I always like to give credit where credit is due. And to quote Christina Randall, it is a free way to help the channel grow. So please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and consider being a member. I know I'm not Tyler, and those are big shoes to fill. But hopefully, again, last night, it seemed like people really liked getting to the heart of some of these questions. And it was very, very drama-free, very, very good, productive night. Sheila, thank you. You're always such an amazing supporter. And again, I know we appreciate it. I know Tyler appreciates it. And you're just amazing. And Amelia says, facts only, but possible theories are okay when based on the facts. No bad mouthing the parents. No, we did not do that at all last night. In fact, we tried to stay away from that. And last night we stayed away from that completely. And, just making sure that we're talking about real valid questions that come about based on the timeline. So again, in just a second, I'm going to start going through what we came up with last night. And TW DP 2014 says, absolutely, going back to the beginning of what we know, some people have made claims but can't share or won't share a source. I can respect that, but the audience doesn't know what they know. True. Very, very good points. And Denise says, last night the question was asked if grandma called him first or did he call first. On the Nancy Grace YouTube, grandma called and he said he would call her back. Yeah, that's kind of what we were surmising, because the official police report released said that he called her at that 6:51 call, but we're kind of thinking that what you just said is probably the case, that she was probably calling him and he probably called her back, and that might be why there's some of that discrepancy about that call. Patty Banks, where have you been? I've got to stop everything for just a moment and say hello to Grandma Patty. Thank you for the super sticker. We have missed you so much, and I'm so glad to see you tonight. So glad you're here. We love you very much, Grandma Patty. Thank you so much for that super sticker. Yeah, Cindy says Kim typed her fingers off. I did. And then when I got home from work today, I typed them off a little more, because I put it in what you're about to see in just a second, which is a keynote, because I'm kind of weird like that. I have to have everything really organized. And so it's going to be a little clearer, but yeah, it's quite a bit of typing going on. Bigger Red, Tyler looks a lot prettier today. Thank you, Bigger Red. That's sweet of you. But anyway, Patricia needs the StreamYard link. Yes, I need to do that. I need to send the link to my co-host. That's not very nice of me. Let me copy this link and send it to Patricia. And while I'm doing that, why don't you let us know where you are watching from tonight? And I know Tyler says that on the replay that a lot of people get mad that he asked this question, but he really loves to see where everybody is watching and calling in from. And that just really warms his heart to see how broad the audience is. So Patricia, that link has now been emailed to you. Again, I apologize. Don't know why I forgot to do that, but thank you, Patricia, for reminding me. But as Nightbot says, we encourage civil discussion. Please keep bad language, personal attacks, off-topic comments, in general, bad behavior off our stream. And one of the things too, just to let you know, if you don't know, if you're new here, Nightbot is truly a bot. So in other words, Nightbot is not a real person. So if Nightbot gets on to you for all caps, if Nightbot gets on to you for anything, that's because Nightbot is truly a bot. I'm going to add Patricia, and I'm going to turn off my camera because we're about to get started. And as you can probably see, I'm a little grainy on the screen. So hopefully once I turn off my camera, that'll stop that problem. So let me stop mine. Patricia, how are you, Patricia?
Oh, it's been a long day, but it's been a good day. How about you, Kim?
Same. It has been a long day, but a good day. And I'm so happy to see everybody here tonight. We've got Amy in Kentucky, Sweet Caroline in Kentucky, Patty in Ohio, Joan in St. Louis, Hannah in St. Louis, Annette in New York, Cherie in New Mexico, Stephen in South Carolina, Stuck Out West in Tennessee, Amy Heights in Michigan. She ran Calling Wild. Oh, that's what Keith was telling me about this name the other night. She ran Calling Wildfire. That was my favorite song growing up. And it was actually one of the songs that was played at mine and Keith's wedding 25 years ago. So Keith was telling me about it the other night, about your screen name. So welcome from all the way from Indiana. And Dawn in Ohio, Sheila in Odessa, Connecticut, Kentucky. TWDP 2014, it does explain both reports. North Carolina, Ohio, Catskill Mountains, upstate New York. That reminds me of, I don't know, you probably have heard of it being from the Catskill Mountains, but the show Coast to Coast, I always used to say somewhere undisclosed in the Catskill Mountains. Brentwood, Tennessee, Kansas, Boca Raton. Amy says, no drama llama here. Scott Wilson right here in Tennessee. Lucas says, watching from Wright, Hunts Fork Road, Floyd County, East Kentucky, USA, Appalachia, Honaker, God bless. God bless you. That was a mouthful. Toronto, Northwest Georgia. Todd, we are in Northeast Georgia, so welcome from the state of Georgia. And Patricia, guess who is here with us tonight? Grandma
Um,
Patty is back in the audience.
I am so glad she's here. Hi, Grandma Patty. I love you. She and I
Yeah.
had a little conversation today on messaging, and I was so thrilled to hear from you, Grandma Patty. You just made my day.
Isn't she amazing? We have a
Yes.
few Canadians here. I'm so happy to see Grandma Patty here tonight. She has been missed for sure. And we got Mama Bear from Louisiana, Cruiser Chris from Minnesota, and hello to Nightbot, Utah. We have Nova Scotia, Utah, another Utah, Indiana, and Sweet Caroline says, Patty Banks, we sure have missed you. Yes, we have. Alabama, Oregon, Georgia, New Brunswick, Canada, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, SoCal. There's Grandma Patty. Hey, Muskoka Mama, it's good to see you too. She says, good to see you and I, Patricia. We haven't seen her in a little bit too. And she ran calling wildfire says, I love that song too. Awesome. Well, it's so nice to see everybody here tonight. Margaret in Edmonton, Janice in Colorado, and Susan from Australia. So many of you here from so many different places. And Amy with the super sticker. Thank you, Miss Train Conductor. Amy Heights is our train conductor on we call it the super sticker, super chat train. And she does a wonderful job of that. And if you're joining us late, just want to let you know or remind you that any super stickers, any super chats go straight to Tyler Feller Ministries and Movement Church. Keith and I and Patricia don't keep any of that. That's all for the ministry, all for Tyler. We're just here supporting him, giving him a 9 off, letting him do what the ministry is calling him to do. All right, let's share my screen here and get rolling. Patricia, do you want to say anything before we get started?
Well, one of the people in chat just before you brought me on had mentioned about the Nancy Grace interview where it was said by Candace about Grandma calling Dylan. And it's so ironic. I just want that person in chat to know I happened to go back today and listen to that same interview. So we're like-minded here, going back and listening at the beginning of what was said. Some of the things have been added to the timeline, but there are discrepancies. And so in our questions, as we're going along, I think that what we did last night, Kim and I, we couldn't have foreseen all the great questions. We were really hoping for participation from everybody in chat, but we are all on the same page. And I'm just going to say right now, shout out to you guys in chat. Do it again tonight. It's so great.
Absolutely. I echo Patricia. It was really, last night it was funny because Patricia and I were talking before the show, and we were saying last night, it might be a short show because really last night our goal was really, we're both getting a little worn out. I mean, I'm sure some of you can relate. We were getting a little worn out on the drama. And so we were like, we really want to make tonight's show just really drama free. And if it's short, so be it, and here we are on night 2 of what we thought was going to be a 1-hour show because of all the great input. Oh, we got somebody from Montello. Welcome, Weezer. Thank you for joining us. But because of all the great comments, all the just, interaction from everybody in the audience, we ended up being here, for a good, 2 hours, a little bit over 2 hours. And then we're just picking up tonight when the search actually really got underway, when Candace and Justin got into town. And so I know that we've gotten a few more people here since we started. So I'm just going to remind everybody one more time again, what we're doing is we're taking the official Facebook timeline from the official Facebook group. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. We're taking this timeline and we're going through it and we're saying, okay, if we, and again, I know a lot of people last night kept going, well, that's changed. There's been people that have come out that have said this, we know, we do understand that. And we're addressing a lot of that in our questions. And you'll see, as I said, I got a little carried away here today after work, and I really organized this pretty well from each point, as you can see in the timeline. And the questions, these are all the questions that you see that not just we, but that us and the people in chat came up with last night as we talked through these points in the timeline. And so that is what we are going to be doing as we roll along. And so, I'm hearing, I guess, Jeff, you're saying Weezer wants to call in and give his perspective from Montello. I didn't see that where he said he wanted to, or he or she, I guess I don't know if that's a he or she, wanted to call in. I just saw that they were from Montello. But Weezer, if that's true, if that is you wanting to call in and give your perspective from Montello, if you can email me at moxxylady, MOXXYLADY, at gmail.com, and just kind of confirm who you are and that you want to call in, then I'll go ahead and send you the link. But we're trying not to do a call-in show tonight because we're trying to stay on point and on fact. But if you would like to share your perspective from Montello, I'm willing to do that. But just want to make sure that I get some confirmation that that's you and that that's what you wanted. No one, thank you for your support. She says thank you for the drama-free zone. And thank you. You're always so amazingly supportive. I know Tyler appreciates it. We appreciate it. And thank you for being here with us tonight. Yeah, as you can see, it was quite a bit of work. It didn't take me as long as I expected, but it was quite a bit of work. So I'm just going to start by going through the questions that we came up with last night. So the first point on the timeline right up here is a disagreement takes place between Dylan and Dawn, a family friend who helps out on the farm at times. Dawn was questioning Dylan's decision to work on a washing machine before a pump, and the result was Dylan and Dawn mutually decided to part company. So the questions that came about out of that point in the timeline, thank you so much, Miss Goka Mama, that's so sweet. But the questions that came about at that point in the timeline is Dawn Hatley, and we think we know that, but that's still an unconfirmed question at this point. Does this disagreement have anything to do with Dylan being missing? Obviously, we don't know that. But a good question that got, I think, posted on the replay of the video or the recording was really, Patricia, so I don't know if you've seen this one, but this was like, wow, good question. Why would a family friend, Don H., who was supposedly a family friend for so long, so much so that Grandma, he was the first person Grandma called when Dylan was not, showing up or was missing, why would they part ways over a washing machine? That seems odd. Don H. supposedly went out to look for him when no one heard from him. Did Don H. and Jim B. really go out and look for Dylan? But to get, on this point on the timeline, that does kind of seem odd, doesn't it, Patricia?
Yes, it does. And I think that that's something that maybe Dawn can clear up or law enforcement. But that's a big question for a lot of us. And so I don't know if Dawn was on vacation, before he parted ways with Dylan, apparently. He said, oh, that's fine. I'm going to go fishing. I've heard that he went on vacation. Was he just coming back? Was he already back from vacation? Was he contacted and then, maybe cut his vacation short? I don't know. But I think that it caught Dawn off guard. And so he's thinking, okay, Dylan isn't calling. And I think out of courtesy to his friends who are Dylan's grandparents, he said, I'm going to be dutiful. I'm going to go out and I'm going to look. He perhaps went over to Dylan's home. The trailer's there. Were there lights on in the trailer? Did he go to the trailer? Did he knock on the doors? Did he bring a flashlight if it was late at night? But I think that Dawn had, out of a dutiful respect for the grandparents, did want to go out and at least look around.
Very good points. Very good points. And there's a couple of things. I have the hardest time with your name. TWDP 2014 says, when we're finished with the questions based on the timeline, can we make an unofficial timeline citing sources, interviews? Of course, we put some answers to those questions. I would definitely recommend that to Tyler because Tyler loves doing those kind of things. And so I think that's completely possible. TWDP. I have to slow myself down to say your name. 2014. I will definitely bring that up to him. Teresa says it all started because Candace owed Ed money and Dylan paid for it. So I'm going to add that as a question here because I haven't seen a source on that, but it sounds like a good point. So I'm going to add that as a question. And that's one of the things we're doing is that if we don't have a source, if we don't have definitive proof, we're adding it to this question list. So we're going to say, did the washing machine fight start because Candace owed Don money and Dylan paid it? Okay, so that's a good question. And that brings up another good point is as you're listening to us, if you have a question that you want to add, if you can use the hand raising emoji before your question, that really helped us tonight because it's really hard. You know, when we've only got 300 or 400 people in here, it's not so hard. But you know, I have a feeling when other streams end, it gets a little bit later because normally we start at 8:30. The crowd is going to get bigger and the chat rolls. Just so you know, if you haven't ever hosted a YouTube show, the chat rolls like a teleprompter. So it is literally just, it's rolling, rolling, rolling. And it's really hard to catch everything. So, so Elizabeth says, I'm having trouble with the poll. Do you like facts only? Yeah, I know. I've had a little bit of trouble with the poll too, because I'm like, well, you know, I mean, I like some speculation and I think some speculation is necessary. And so does Tyler, because ultimately we have to speculate a little when there's blanks, right? We have to think about what fills in those blanks. And that is ultimately what gets you to answers, is kind of spitballing with those potentials. And it's like, well, all of a sudden, one of those potentials may spark a point. And, you know, a lot of people will say YouTubers aren't going to solve any crimes. You know, they're not going to solve any missing persons cases. And while that may be really true, I know for a fact that there is law enforcement in those areas that watches these streams. And I do not know for a fact whether or not they get any valid information, but I know they're watching for a reason. They wouldn't just watch for no reason. So, you know, I think any of these questions we have, it may spark a question that question we have might not be helpful, but it may spark a new question for them. So Susan is saying, can you make a shared file of your slides so we can make a copy? Thank you for all your hard work. Yeah, Susan, I think Tyler's going to do that when we get done. We had talked about that. I think he's going to actually, you know, we're going to put, you know, his brand on it and then kind of share it, make it public, because it's all about finding Dylan. It's not about who, you know, did the keynote presentation. That doesn't matter to us at all. So yes, I think that's definitely possible. Sorry for the typos. TWP, I can't say your name. TWDP 2014. Don't worry about it. It's hey rule 2012. It's really hard to type on the internet, especially when you're trying to type quickly and you know people are watching and not make mistakes. No worries about that. And Elizabeth says, yeah, facts only excludes speculation. Yeah, I know. You know, I think it's starting with the facts. As long as we start with the facts, and that's kind of my point, is I wanted us to start with the facts, and Patricia did too. I don't want to speak for her, but we talked about this together, is we want to start with the facts and then what questions the facts create. So I think starting with the facts is important. Patricia, were you going to add something?
I just wanted to go back and say something to TWDP 2014. I was thinking the same thing. I was rereading, I was rewatching last night's live stream too. And I was thinking, you know what? It would be great to then, from there, what we're doing tonight, go in and interject timelines, people who said this and that. So I'm on board with that. And Kim, you're right. This is right up Tyler's alley. He loves to do that. And so when he comes back, next Monday or Tuesday, tomorrow is our Faith Friday night. But when he comes back, I am with you. I would love to see that come up as what we cover next.
Yeah, me too, for sure. And at Weezer, again, Jeff, I told Weezer that if he would like to email me at moxxylady, MOXXYLADY @gmail.com, and just kind of confirm who he is or she is, then I'll look at that. Again, we weren't going to have any call-ins tonight, but I'm willing to let Weezer call in to give us the Montello perspective. But I just need that email first just to verify who he or she is. So once I get that email, Jeff, then we'll go from there. All right. So let's go back to our questions. And so that was our first question. Question 2. Dylan tells Candace about a ride request from some bloody guy. This is one of the ones for me that has so many questions about this one. Is bloody guy Chase Venstra, or did Dylan give Chase and another guy ask Dylan for a ride? Why did Dylan, and this is another one that came in the video after it was posted from last night. Why did Dylan not give bloody guy, obviously in desperate need, a ride? What made him not want to give whoever this was a ride if he didn't? Why did he call his mom and boast of not giving him a ride? Why would he not report this to someone who could help bloody guy? And then did Candace ask any follow-up questions about this story? So all of those questions that I just said, Patricia, came on the video after it was posted last night. So those are all good questions. And can we believe everything Candace says? And that's, again, not derogatory. That's just a question. And if this bloody person was Chase, wouldn't there be some blood on the inside of the truck? Or did he see another bloody person, which is kind of what we were all speculating, that he didn't give a ride and gave Chase a ride later? And was bloody shoeless guy potentially Aiden? And whoever did this thought Aiden was Dylan. And did anyone else report seeing a bloody shoeless guy? That was another one that came after the video. And later this day, was Chase really asking about Dylan and Montello? That's something that's gone around, and it's been said in a few different news stories and interviews that Chase later was asking about Dylan in town. And if he was, why? What did he say? Who heard him? Who did he talk to? Because there should be, if that truly happened, there should be a good trail there to follow. So again, if you weren't here last night, our premise on this is it's kind of seeming like there were two different guys, that there was bloody guy that came out of the thicket that didn't have shoes, that Dylan did not give a ride to, that he called his mom about, and then later that he did give a ride to Chase Venstra. That's kind of what we're surmising here. So, Patricia, did you want to add anything to that? And no, TWD, I'm going to have to shorten your name or something because, okay, 2014, T 2014. Yeah, the two are not mutually exclusive. I really do believe there are two. I believe there's two different people here. And Just Samantha says, I'm going to post this and then give you a chance to speak, Patricia. I know I just asked you if you wanted to talk and I kept talking. Just Samantha says, can anyone tell me when Chase was hiding in a car? Was it before or after the 241 ping? Nobody can answer me. I don't know the answer to that question. I have heard that, but Patricia, your thoughts, and then if you know the answer to that question as well, while I kind of catch up with chat.
I do not know the answer to that question. What I am doing right now is I am rereading Dylan tells his mother about a strange encounter with some who was barefoot and bloody along the roadside. This is the part, who wanted a ride to Montello. Now, it just hit me. If it was Aiden, would Aiden know to say, I need a ride to Montello? Would Aiden be aware of Montello? My understanding is that the last place that Aiden, they could track him was about at least 80 miles away. So that just caught my eye. Who would want a ride to Montello that's bloody and barefoot?
Yeah, that's a good question, because you're right. Apparently he did tell his mom that whoever he wanted the ride, the bloody shoeless guy, that he did want to ride to Montello. So that does kind of seem to rule out Aiden, because I don't think Aiden would have known to say Montello. That's a really good point.
Yeah, that just, and I was rereading this this morning, and it caught my attention. And I thought, okay, whoever would want to ride into Montello had to be familiar with Montello, had to have a reason to go there. Did they live there? Did they have relatives there? Did they need to meet someone there? And these, you don't necessarily have to put these as questions, but I started running those questions, and I'm thinking, who would want to ride to Montello?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of strange. And that Dylan didn't say who it was. It was a strange guy. Does that mean that Dylan didn't know or recognize the guy? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just
Yeah.
seems so odd that out of nowhere, along the roadside, is that from Dylan's place in Lucy? Dylan out there perhaps going to Montello himself, and this guy is alongside the road, flagging him down, wanting a ride to Montello. There's some weird, curious things there. I don't see answers to it, but it sure
Yeah,
gives me questions.
that's a good point. Molly said, could it just say, take me to the nearest town? Oh, we don't have exact quotes. So that's a good point. I guess we don't know that they actually said Montello, but all of those are good questions. And there was one, let's see. Oh, Elizabeth said, and I can't believe we didn't ask this one. Why was Guy bloody? Why was bloody Guy bloody?
Yeah, and no shoes. And he's what,
Yeah.
walking on hot sand or pavement? Ouch. I mean, that's very, that is strange.
Yeah, Keith said because we couldn't call him Bloody Guy if he was not bloody. Keith's sense of humor.
Yeah.
That's my husband. All right. But yeah, that's a very good question, Elizabeth. Why was he bloody? And again, as Patricia and Elizabeth said, why was he bloody? Why didn't he have shoes? All of those. Yeah. So Sally said Dylan could have said, "Hey, jump in the back." There has to be a reason with him being in the truck. That's a good question. I'm adding that one. Why didn't Dylan tell him just to jump in the back? All very good questions. Um,
That is a good question, and that's a question I've had myself. And in fact, I think on another live stream a couple of weeks ago, I think at least, that was something that somebody else said, jump in the
Jason.
back of my truck. Well, but you don't know who this guy is. Did he have a weapon in his pocket? You know what I mean? So there may have been not only the apprehension by Dylan, but also thinking ahead, like, I don't know if this guy is armed. I don't know if he's crazy. He might, do something crazy, jump out of my truck, try and jump on top of my. You think about people that are on the side of the road in that condition, and being a good guy or not, a good Samaritan or not, I would really not pick somebody up like that. I would have gone to town and said, "Hey, there's somebody in this condition. I need to call the police." Whatever. But I don't know that I would say, "Yeah, get in the back of my truck."
Yeah, for sure. Museum Americana says, how long after Dylan went missing did he call Candace? And so I think you meant how long before. So according to the official timeline, it was Wednesday the 25th, when Dylan had the encounter with Bloody Guy. And the last time he was seen, now not the last phone call, but we're going to get to this in a minute. The last time he was seen supposedly was Friday night. And so, Jess, Samantha, I don't know if you're saying you think our timeline is behind or if you think their timeline is behind, but we're going off the official timeline on the Facebook page. And most of this has been corroborated, like in terms of, on Wednesday, the 25th, him telling his mom, Candace said that was Wednesday. The bank account was used Thursday. The last call with mom and dad was Thursday. The last unconfirmed eyewitness sighting of Dylan was supposedly Friday by Kurt. Supposedly he gave that information to the police and the family. But they said due to changing stories, they weren't sure they were deeming it reliable. But anyway, and then Sally said, but Chase was seen in town with Dylan that day. You're right, Sally. Okay, let's add that. I do think for sure that Dylan gave Chase a ride. I'm just not sure that's what he was talking about when he called Candace and said, Mom, you'll never believe what happened. This bloody guy showed up with no shoes and wanted a ride. I think that, my personal opinion, in my humble opinion, that person, Bloody Guy, was different from Chase, who he later did give a ride and he was later seen with. So why was Dylan, it's hard because I'm looking at the screen and I'm looking at the other screen and typing. Why was Dylan in town with, okay, I need to just look at one. I need to just look at one thing with Chase. Okay, there you go. All right. So good point, Sally. Dylan was seen in town with Chase, and why? Why was he there with Chase?
Can I ask a quick question?
Maybe people who hurt the Bloody Guy took Dylan. That's a good point. Museum Americana, bloody from scratches or a lot of blood? That's another good question.
Can I ask a question, Kim?
Where did we talk about why was he bloody? Okay, so how bloody was bloody? And remember, if y'all can remember to put the hand, just so I don't miss you. I don't want to miss your questions at all, but y'all, it's really hard to see and read all of these. So I don't want to miss your question. If it's a question you want to go on the list, then make sure you kind of try to put that hand just so I don't miss it. Just so I don't miss it and leave it out if it's something that you feel is important to the question list. Erica, could there be a link between the person who hurt Bloody Guy without shoes and them taking Dylan's boots off too? I think there could. I mean, that's a good question. I think that's a great question. Is there a link between Bloody Guy, whoever hurt him, and Dylan?
Kim, could I ask a quick question?
And that's especially a good point if those are two different people. If Bloody Guy is not Chase Vinstra and those are two different rides, then that's a really, really good point. So let's see. Kim, remember Kurt said the back of the truck was greasy and dirty. I would tell him the back, but Dylan may be nicer than me since it's so messy. That's a good point too, for sure. Let's see. I heard the timeline was changed. Yeah, Sue, we've kind of been talking about that. We're going off the official timeline, but we know there's problems in it. But since this is still the one up on the official missing Dylan Rounds missing Facebook page, I can't talk tonight for some reason. Up on the official Dylan Rounds missing Facebook page, we're starting from that timeline, and we're just coming up with all the questions that timeline brings to mind for those of us here on the panel, Patricia and I, and of course in the chat. And again, we want everybody to be interactive. So please, if you have a question you want us to add to the list, and Mama J, we'll get to the boots in just a second. So don't forget your question, especially if you want to add. Patricia's not muted. Patricia, you're not muted. I don't know if your mic came unplugged, but you don't show as muted.
Can you hear
Maybe
me
we'll
now?
go out and come back in.
Can you hear me now?
Can y'all hear Patricia? I feel like I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Patricia, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, okay. Patricia, I'm so sorry. Somehow my computer just muted itself. Not sure what happened.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can. I'm so sorry. I don't know how my computer.
Oh no, that's okay. I had asked. It was a few of the chats, the questions earlier, and that is that it was mentioned that Chase was seen with Dylan. Who verified that? Who said that? Who were the witnesses to that? That was my question.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let me add that. Hold on. I'm so sorry, guys, that I was not hearing Patricia. I do not know why my computer just randomly muted itself.
That's okay, because in the meantime, Kim, you were getting a lot of good questions from chat, so it all works out.
Okay. Oh, that was crazy. Keith is like, Patricia said she's muted. I'm like, I don't have her muted. And then I look up and sure enough, my speaker was off. I guess my software engineer husband says that I must have hit some keystroke combination. True Crime Utah, Gloria Dallin. Hey, Gloria Dallin, how are you? Says, checking in to update you, Chase Vinstra's hearing was postponed. So that means postponed again. No date scheduled at the moment, but the judge said the trial was August 5th, will almost certainly be postponed. Thank you so much, Gloria Dellin, for that update. And I really thank all of you for being patient with me while I was over here in the Twilight Zone with my computer.
Thank you, Glorindel, and we're always so glad to hear from you. You are boots on the ground in the court cases, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That is amazing. And I'm trying to look for Keith told me I needed to look at a post from Sally Scott, but I think while I was trying to figure out my audio, the chat just rolled straight by me. Oh, it's recent. Okay. So let's see. Sally, the police had 2 people confirm. Dylan's mom said she knew Dylan had given him a ride. Yeah, I totally believe that Dylan gave Chase a ride. I totally believe that. But I also think that there was someone else that told her a different story. Yeah. But see, here's the thing, Sally. If there were 2 different people, then what he told Candace could have been true, because it could have been true that there was some bloody guy with no shoes that he didn't give a ride to, but then he could have given Chase a ride later in the day. And that's what could be confirmed. So that's kind of what we're saying, is that I think both could be true. I think it could be true that there was a bloody guy with no shoes that he did not give a ride to. And then there was also a later occurrence in the day when Dylan gave Chase a ride, so that people saw him. So that's kind of where all that confusion is coming for us, and where the questions are coming from. Erica says, who is the source of the info of a deceased man, or what is the source of the info of a deceased man found? Are you talking about the man that they found while they were searching for Dylan? That was released by the county, I believe. Patricia, do you know?
Well, I'm hearing that there are 2 different people that were found, and I even had heard. Now, this is hearing, guys. This is where we go to live streams, and there's people that have heard. And I've heard there was one guy. I've heard that there's 2 different guys they found. And then I heard that they found a woman. Verification, I haven't seen verification that may be connected to Dylan Round's case, other than while they were searching for Dylan, they found these other people. I don't know the names of them. But that is what happens, isn't it? When they're searching for other people that are missing, lo and behold, all of a sudden they find the remains of someone else. And so,
yeah, it seems to happen in all these cases.
And even in Gabby Petito's case, they were finding, different up or whatever that had been missing. They found the remains, and there's others. And so I look at that and I think, while these cases are so horrible, so heartbreaking, they are hopefully bringing closure to other families who have had missing people in the areas where they're doing searches in our country, in the United States. And so if you could say it's one good thing, these other missing people now, they're finding closure. The family knows, okay, now we know where they are. And then it's up to law enforcement to try and put together, if it's a cold case or if it's a current case, try and figure out all the other dynamics of what led to that person passing away when they, and then they find them.
Absolutely. And Cruiser Chris, I'm just showing what I have on the screen. I went back to show you. I did see your question. I must not have addressed you and let you know I added it, but I did add your question on there. And yes, Winged Infinity, I am answering question with hands up. I'm trying to put those on if it's a hands up, but if I'm seeing people that forgot, I'm still trying to add it. It's just going to get harder as we get more people in the chat. It'll be hard for me to see, and I just really don't want to miss anybody. Amy Heights, thank you so much for the super sticker. Our train conductor, Miss Amy Heights, we appreciate it. And Mama Barry, thank you so much for the super sticker as well. I know Tyler appreciates it. We appreciate it. And you are appreciated here. And there's been a lot of people in in the chat talking about who the different bodies found were. And yeah, I think it seems like, I mean, I know there's a lot of, I heard an interview, so I know that there was 2 for sure, but it's sounding like there was probably 3. And so, yeah, interesting that there's Mama 4 Rose says, "You're both so wonderful. Thank you for a great, calm." Mom of 4, 57 Rose says, "Thank you both so much for a great, calm conversation. You're welcome. And thank you for being here so very much. We really appreciate it." I'm looking through now Lana's saying, "Is Kim muted?" I hope y'all can. Oh, okay. Lana, I think you're behind. You might want to refresh the screen if you want to be with us in real time. And Ann says, "You're doing great. We appreciate it." Museum Americana, thank you so much for the super sticker. We appreciate you. Mama J, thank you as well. So very much. Let's see. Weezer says, "I will follow in chat. If I can answer any questions, I'll post in there. I don't want to interrupt with a phone call. I appreciate just watching with no drama." So, Weezer, I did get your message. Thank you so much. Weezer is in chat. Weezer is from Montello. Actually, Weezer, one night, maybe tomorrow night, you might want to call in and talk. Not tomorrow night. I'm sorry, tomorrow night. But I think Tyler is going to do a Saturday stream. But I would really like to stay in touch with you, Weezer. So I'll email you back after the show. But Weezer said that they're going to be in chat. So if you have any questions about Montello, feel free to tag @Weezer. And Weezer said she would be glad to see if she could help you and answer those questions. All right. So now it looks like we're back in real time, Patricia. So I'm going to go back to our timeline. And we just finished the Some Bloody Guide discussion. Okay, so Thursday, May 26th, Dylan's bank account is used. ESCO verified that Dylan was in Montello via bank account usage, ESCO press release. So the questions we came up with last night was, where was the bank account usage at? Was there a camera? Are we sure it was Dylan using the bank access? How much money did he get out? Did law enforcement question the person who ran the transaction if it was ran in an establishment? Was this a bank card transaction or was a check written? And was the transaction on the 25th or was that when it was posted? So any questions that we feel like we need to add to that, feel free to throw them in chat. If you can, use the hands up sign. So Shark Sport, no problem. You said, "I don't want to interrupt the ladies talking." Thank you, but no problem. Does anyone know the last time Dylan talked to his mom prior to his disappearance? It was this day, Wednesday the 25th. Oh, no, wait. It was actually the 26th. So we'll get to that in just a second. So good question, but we'll get to that in just a second. Hey, Justice for Summer, welcome. Good to see you. But anybody have any questions? Patricia, is there anything you want to add here that we didn't add last night?
What time of day was that transaction?
Okay. Any other questions about this transaction? Oh, Modest Man, I'm going to go back and add that question. Where did Dylan actually meet Don? And Don was a family friend, so he's an older friend of the family. So let's say, when did Dylan actually meet Don? Because he was a family friend, and we do know that. But I think when he met him is a very good question. Any others? Any other questions that we want to add to Thursday, May 26th? This is when the bank account was used. All right, Thursday, May 26th. This goes back to the question. Hey, Mickey, good to see you. And Erica, thank you so much. I'm trying to click on the wrong screen. Erica, thank you so much for the super sticker. Really appreciate it. Appreciate your support. And Rural says, yeah, how much cash did he receive from that check? So we can put that on the bank day, just because that is a good question about money. How much cash?
That is a good question. Did he get cash back? You know, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a good question. Was it just for the meal, or was it including wanting to get some cash back? So that is a great question.
That is a very, very good question. And Shelly says, was Dylan the only one with access to the bank account? So that's a good question too. I mean, because like I'm on one of my son's bank accounts and he's over 20. That's a good question. Those are really good questions. But Rule, yeah, I think that, I mean, and here's the other thing. If the check was cashed earlier, wouldn't he have money on him? And why would he need to make another bank transaction? So that's a very interesting question. Katie
Yeah.
says, how do we know Dylan did not give Bloody Guy a ride? I still think it was Aiden. So we can add that to the slide. We can say, how do we know that he is, I mean, whether or not that was Chase, even if Bloody Guy was not Chase, even if Bloody Guy was not Chase, and
That's a good
Chase.
point, Katie, because
Mhm.
think about it. Aiden went missing a month prior to this, and he could have been bouncing around all over that area. So, yeah, you're right. We can't dismiss that it was Aiden.
Very, very good question. Very good question because, I mean, they don't have to be mutually exclusive, and that may have been what I can't remember who was saying it. But was someone was saying earlier. I may have misinterpreted that question. And Royal said, "Yeah, I never deposit all of my check." Very, very, very good point. Do we know if he had multiple bank accounts? That's a good question about the bank account. Let's see. Do we know if he had multiple bank accounts? That's a really good question. I mean, yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, there's probably many of us that do have multiple bank accounts. So, Taryn, that's a great question. Thank you for that one. And thank you for using the hand up thing. I saw it easily. So much appreciate that. Let's see. Modest Man has a hand up. Did Dylan really only use credit cards like Kurt said? Okay. Did Dylan only use credit cards like Kurt said? And again, those of you that are helping us create this timeline, just know that once we get it done, we are going to figure out some way to share it because it's not about who create, not timeline. This is not a timeline. Question list. It's not about who created the question list, and it's all of us anyway, but we're going to figure out some way to share it. And so, yes, for sure, we're going to try and figure out how to share that with everybody. Muskoka Mama says, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to give you both a high five. Thank you so much, Muskoka Mama. We appreciate it.
Yes, it's so good to see you, Miss Coca Mama. We love you.
Yeah, we do love you. Thank you so much. Miss Marvel says, hey, everyone, there are no dumb questions. In this chat tonight, Miss Marvel, we are nice, we are friendly, and we love all questions. So there's no dumb questions. There's maybe some that we tell you, oh, we've already talked about that, or that's already been asked, but there are no dumb questions. Are we sure he got cash? Was it just a deposit? And did he show up to the bank? Those are great questions. Are we sure? You can talk if you want to, Patricia, while I'm typing.
Well, I'm looking at this, the questions that are coming up about his bank accounts, etc. And if he had people that were helping him on the farm, Dylan, I'm talking about, was it common for him to say, hey, let me write you a check? Because then they would have to go, 50 miles away to a bank? Or was he maybe taking out cash with either a credit, with a card, it'd have to be a debit card, or was he going into Montello, writing checks, using a bank machine, whatever, and getting extra cash to say, hey, I'm just going to pay you in cash rather than you running all the way to the bank with my check for any help that anyone could have done on Dylan's farm. And so I'm just looking at that. What would be the reasons for Dylan to have extra cash on hand? Was it to pay people who helped him?
Well, it's funny that you just said that. I'm gonna add that to the question here in just a second because My grandfather, when I was growing up, when I was a little girl, was a plumber. And every Friday, I guess he would get paid for jobs. But I remember his workers would show up at the house or would wait for him outside the bank to be paid for the week before. And I mean, that was, I'm 51. So when I was a little girl, that's what, 45 years ago. But it was a very small town. And I imagine some small towns still work that way. So I think those are very valid questions. Did he cash a check or, or more or two to pay his help? And were they there with him?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good question. And remember, wasn't it Chase's son who was said to have worked with Dylan on his farm?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to tie Chase in necessarily, but there's people that it's said there was a young boy, a young teenager that knew the grandparents. I've heard that worked with Dylan on the farm. Well, that young boy he doesn't have a bank account, so Dylan would get cash for him, and this is how he would pay for his service, for his help. And so I grew up in the 50s, and my dad would do the same thing with people. There were some cash transactions that took place. And so I don't think it's uncommon in small towns. Maybe I'm wrong, but it would make sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to let Cruiser Chris know I added your question. We have a miscellaneous thought at the end we'll get to in a minute. I added your question. And Weezer says, our Montello friend, says there's no ATM in Montello. So that's very interesting. So I read up here somewhere, and obviously this is Kurt said, but I think this is an important point to actually bring up. Kurt said, supposedly Kurt charged 5% to cash checks. And then Weezer says there is no ATM in Montello. So if Dylan were to cash a check and get money back, it would have either had to have been at a bank, which likely would have had a camera, or via Kurt. So there's a lot of questions in there.
That's a great point, Kim.
Yeah. I have a question. Brandon says, I have a question. I have this question for a long time. I really doubt he is held captive as a hostage. One, the heat, and two, no food and water. It's almost been 3 months. Very good point. I will say, though, I was listening to Doug's stream earlier after I got home from work, and I heard Doug say something about, and I don't know the details of this, but that someone was seen getting large amounts of, I won't even say water, and carrying it back and forth. And there was some discussion of that, but I was kind of just had it on in the background, and I didn't hear all the details, but there was some discussion about something related to that. So if you haven't heard Doug's stream, I think he talks about that on his stream. Elizabeth says, what happened to the $50,000? Is that 50 or 50,000? I think $50,000 he was given by Grandpa. Well, supposedly he went and got seed, and we'll get to that in just a second. With at least 30,000 of it, he went to get seed, and that's where the grain came from, supposedly. And again, that's not in the official timeline, but that's in a lot of the discussion about the official timeline. Let me look through and let's see. We have questions. Keith, has everyone clicked the like button? Good question. And was anyone watching him in person? Ed, that's a good question. Let's see. Was anyone watching him in person? Okay, good. All right, so I'm reading the rest of these. Is this a joint account with Grandpa? Who's the beneficiary on the account? Okay. Is this a joint account with Grandpa? Who is the beneficiary?
That's a great question.
So it wasn't an ATM floor because Weezer, who is from Montello, said there are no ATMs in Montello. Isn't that strange how just different places are so different? No, Kat, you can speculate a little bit. We have to do a little speculation on facts. So you're good. I mean, we're just starting with facts. How do we know how old Chase's son is? That's a good question, Taryn. I'm going to put that down here. We have a miscellaneous slide that we'll get to in just a second because I have to go back and either fit them in or figure out where they go. How old is Chase's son? Okay, I'm going to add that one there. But there were some of the questions that came up last night that I just couldn't neatly fit into one of the timeline points. So let's see. So Kat, yeah, you're welcome to speculate. As long as we start with the facts, there's always going to be a little bit of speculation. I think I just don't know that we can avoid speculating some. Mickey says, I'm too far ahead. Maybe my biggest question isn't until FBI announced they are involved and it's a criminal case. What do they find to make it a criminal case instead of a missing person? Yeah, for sure. I'll go ahead and add that. But let's see. You can see that we haven't got to any of these. We might be picking up this question list tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, but later. Again, let's see. What turned it up? I'm not going to have my regular font. Let's see. I know I'm weird. I have to make sure my fonts match. Go ahead and talk for a second if you have any thoughts you want to add. That's a really good question of Mickey's, and it goes back to my whole belief about that there's more to this case, or they wouldn't have gotten the FBI involved so quickly. What do you think, Patricia?
Well, once they started out with missing person. Then I think that FBI, once they got involved, they started looking at the key players, the inner circle. They started looking at, it was a two-state, it's Utah, Nevada. So you have two different states where something might have happened. And I think that because Dylan was known to be very responsible, that suddenly this young man is missing. And all of the town people, I'm not saying all of them, but the ones who showed interest, who were showing up, including squatters, according to Candace, in Heavy D. Sparks' original video, all of a sudden there's a lot of different discrepancies of people making comments that something might have happened to Dylan in a bad way. And I think at that point, the law enforcement of Nevada and Utah said, you know what? We don't have the capacity to investigate all the things that we're hearing. And I think at that point, the decision was made to contact the FBI. And I think that's when FBI comes in and says, you know what? It's not just a missing person. We're hearing enough really dark things that could have happened here. It's now a criminal case. I think that that's what, I don't know for sure, but that would make sense to me.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a really good possibility. Ed, we had that one right there. Was Dylan the only one with access to that bank account? And then we also have one down here. Is this a joint account with Grandpa? And is there beneficiary? So great minds think alike. We're on that same track with you. Justice for Summers says 53 miles to the nearest bank. And TW had asked a question about the unofficial timeline. And TW, I saw what you saw too. And so just so in case others are seeing it, in one of an interview, Kurt had said that he took that money from Grandpa and went to Idaho to get seed and was, returning with the grain, the seed, and that's where he got it, and that he was gone Monday and Tuesday and came back Wednesday. So I don't know if it was TW or someone else was asking, did he go to the bank in Idaho as well? So that's an interesting point. But we know that on the 26th that his bank account was accessed is what the term that they use, which is kind of interesting, which Patricia, you were the one last night that said maybe it was a check. And it kind of makes me think that too, because it says that ESCO verified EXO. I keep saying that wrong. verified that Dylan was in Montello via bank account usage. So that's interesting. The terminology there isn't usually the terminology they talk about when they talk about transactions, like a debit card or a ATM. And Weezer has told us there is no ATM there, but that kind of makes me think that you might be on the right track, Patricia, but that it might have been a check.
It could be, and if he only used credit cards, there are some cases where credit cards are accessible or connected to bank accounts. But in my situation, now this is just me, bank account, I have debit cards. And so my debit cards would immediately deduct whatever I was using that debit card for. If I went to the grocery store and I used my debit card, I can go home and within 5 minutes after I've done the transaction, it would say your available balance is minus what you just used at the grocery store, and it will deduct it immediately. If it's a credit card, and that's again in my case, a credit card transaction may not be taken out of a bank account. It could be several days up to a week later, depending on the bank system.
Yeah, for sure. I think that.
Yeah, they did track it, and apparently there was a transaction of the bank account. There was usage, and they're nailing it to May 26th. Yeah, and they're doing that. Yeah, they're doing that just to see the timeline of where Dylan was. They're building it up on a timestamp situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. Ed, we got that one too. So again, great minds think alike. And I want to thank Patty Davila for the super sticker. I hope you're doing well, Patty. Hope everything's going good. You stay in our prayers, and we appreciate you. And I want to add or just address real quickly. I know about Mickey's question. What turned it into a criminal investigation? I think we all agree what turned it into an FBI. Why the FBI got involved, but why did the FBI? What for the FBI? There has to be something that took it from a missing person case to a criminal case for the FBI. They have to have something. FBI jurisdiction wouldn't automatically make it a criminal case, right? Right, Patricia? Just because it's so there has to be something. Thank you, Keith Brooks, sweet husband of mine, for the super sticker. We so appreciate it. But there has to be something that turned it into a criminal case. So I think that's what is so weird to me. And I hadn't even really thought about it till Mickey said it. It's like there has to be something they found that turned it into a criminal case, because just having jurisdiction and it being a criminal case are two different things.
Yes. So they must have found something that said, wait a minute, this kid is not just missing, something bad has happened to him. And it's not just missing persons now. Was it some kind of evidence that FBI found at the grain shed or Dylan's farm area? Was it something that somebody gave in information to the FBI? Knowingly or unknowingly, that could have triggered the FBI to say, okay, wait a minute. He's not just missing. Something might have happened really bad to this young man. And so, yeah, there is something that triggered the FBI. And you're right. It's not because it could have been two states involved. Now that I think about it, because we had one girl, Irion was the last name, and everything took place in that state. And the FBI came in and they started going to Walmart, remember? And they started getting all the information, tracking things, any camera video, anything. And it was all in one state. So there is something that triggered the FBI to say, well, it's not just a missing persons case anymore. So that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Chanel says, love that name, Chanel. Exactly. At this point, I believe they also have something. I wish they would just come out with it so we can all be at ease rather than just guessing and coming up with these theories. Absolutely. It's it's funny because a lot of people say, why do you keep talking about this case, or y'all are milking this case? Well, first of all, we have been a true crime channel Monday through Thursday, bringing exposure to any true crime case that we feel needs it since the Gabby Petito case. So it's not a matter of milking it. But if we didn't cover it, people would say, why aren't y'all covering it? Like people were saying last night about Aiden, and I had to explain that we're getting there on Aiden when I'm working, with Amy. She's ill right now. So if y'all pray, please pray for Amy Clune, because she needs to be healthy so she can continue trying to figure out what happened to her own son. And I have offered her a standing invitation to come on any night and talk about Aiden's case. So I don't want to overstate. I mean, we're not quote friends. We have just become acquaintances through Facebook and chat through Facebook Messenger periodically. Nothing, big and earth shattering, just, my empathizing with her as a mother of adult children. And, having been through some of the situations like she has earlier before Aiden disappeared. And then also just offering her a platform for coming to talk if she wants to. So, at any time that she wants to. And so it's not a matter of, it's a really for me, and Patricia, I know your heart, so I know it is for you too. It's keeping attention on these cases, because if the attention, and as long as it's not negative attention, and we try to steer away from that, but as long as it's not negative attention, then it's keeping attention on these cases and asking questions. Because like I said in the beginning, but I know a lot of you weren't here when we started, but it's about, maybe these questions, you might look at these questions and go, those are stupid. Everybody has those questions, but it's what that might prompt somebody else to think about, right? It's kind of like the whole concept behind brainstorming. It's not what you yourself think of, it's what it makes someone else think. And so, go ahead.
If I could just make mention of something too, at the foundation, the start of Tyler Feller doing the live streams like this, what we have gathered here on his live stream are people who are parents, sisters, brothers, grandparents, family members, children of missing people. And each one of us have a heart, and we pray for, and we want to bring any kind of comfort, any kind of encouragement, any kind of way that we can spotlight something that is involving a missing person. And so our hearts are really because we care. And so again, it would be great if we were able to do multiple cases at the same time, but in doing that, it seems that we would be kind of overdoing it. So right now we're focusing on Dylan Rounds. Have we forgotten Aiden Clune? Have we forgot other missing children, other missing men and women? No, absolutely not. If you become a member of Feller Fam on Facebook, you're going to see our heart. Our folks there are bringing up other cases. I was on Feller Fam today, and again, people are bringing up cases of missing persons. What we're doing here is we are focusing on someone who in some way touches our heart. And so we're just focusing, and we have a million questions. We have questions that the family members, the friends would have, that the law enforcement would have. And so this is an opportunity for us to express what we feel, what we're thinking about, what are our questions, what we hope we can find answers to. And so we're not excluding anyone else out there. In every state of the United States, and Feller Fam in every state, we're covered. We all have cases of missing persons. I'm in Washington State, and we have missing persons happening every week, of children, men, women, pets. I mean, it's just amazing. And so we all have become sensitive to the families who are searching for these people. Right now, it's Dylan Rounds that we're focusing on, but we care about everybody who's missing.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better myself. And thank you, Athena, for answering her question about what likely turned it into a criminal case. And somebody else mentioned also it was the finding of the boots. And I think that is a part of it for sure. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what Athena just said. So Athena, thank you so much again for the super chat. We really, really appreciate it. And Patricia, those were amazing words. And I couldn't agree more. Mama J says, nagging question to me, why would Don report to grandma that Dylan was okay? There's no proof he's okay if he isn't there. We're going to get to that in just a second. And I actually have that on the question list, Mama J. So again, great minds think alike, but that is a super big question, is why they said, no problem, there's nothing wrong. Okay, let's see. And Kathleen, we do have this question in our miscellaneous questions. Have there been cadaver dogs used near the trailer or inside? We have that one added to our miscellaneous that we'll get to at the end. And Modest Man, did cops, FBI find a crime scene either cleaned up with chemicals or did they find proof of Dylan getting hurt? We do have that question as well about the grain shed, but we don't have that about the trailer. So I'll add that to the trailer when we get to that one. And Justice for Summer said, where did Dylan take this bloody guy? Well, we don't know that he gave bloody guy a ride, because we are kind of hypothesizing there may have been two guys, bloody guy and Chase. So we're going to say, I'm going to add your question though here where it says, even if bloody guy was not Chase and Chase was later, how do we know Dylan still didn't give this bloody guy a ride? And if he did, where to? All right, so we're in that right there. So Justice for Summer, thank you so much. DL Briggs says, Aiden Clean went missing on April 27th, 2022. Yes, it's been, what, 3 months now almost? So sad. I'm really hoping that Amy will take me up on my offer of coming on, anytime she's ready and to talk about the case and what she needs from us, or how we can help her, even if it's just to pray for her. Curly Kate says, was anyone else putting in a bid to buy the land the grain shed was on? That's a great question for our miscellaneous page here. Let's see. Was anyone else bidding to buy the grain shed? Good question. Okay. All right, let's go back up here. We're back on the bank account. I'm just making sure I haven't missed. The title of this is bothering my OCD. Latricia, what title? Let me know what I'm like. I'm waiting for her to answer me. I don't know why I just did that. But Latricia, tell me what you mean the title is bothering your OCD. Did I spell something wrong? Or is it the up and down of the case? It's some all caps and some not. Unsolved cases in news is such a sweet comment. It says it's going that step ahead with the case and hoping to find Dylan. And I think that is what makes this channel very special. Thank you so much. So Mickey, we do have that one when we get to that one about the grain truck. We do have that question. And Cami says Christ loving community. Yep. I think Black Dove changed his name. I saw that or heard that on Doug's channel earlier. Like I said, it was on in the background while I was typing up this keynote. So I wasn't full attention, but I did hear them say that he had changed his name. Sally says, I think Dylan was feeling something was off. That's why he told his mom the story of giving the guy a ride. Had there been tweakers out there looking around? Very, very possibly so, for sure. Unsolved cases in news says, I wonder if they have any DNA from the guy that had blood on him. We did put that in the bloody guy question slide. I think that's a very good question, and we did have that one there. All right, we're going to go on to the next slide, recapping. Dylan calls both parents. I don't think there's a lot of new to add to this one, but the questions we had about this was what was said in that last phone call with mom and dad on the 26th. And it's interesting that he called both, because obviously he wouldn't call them both together because at the time they weren't communicating. Candace and Justin weren't communicating. So he had to call both of them separately on the 26th. Why? What would he say to each one? How did those calls go? Were they good calls, bad calls? Did they sound normal? Did they sound scripted? Thank you so much for the super sticker, Amy. I know Tyler appreciates your support, and I do as well. And I just love you, and I appreciate it. And I know Patricia does too.
Yes.
So, did these questions? Yeah, DL. I think you might be behind back at the beginning. Somehow, I accidentally muted my volume, but we resolved it. But yeah, for a little bit, I couldn't hear Patricia. So, did these questions with both parents sound scripted or normal? And Patricia, the more I think about this, when I was typing it up today, I find that very just kind of weird that he took the time to call both of his parents. Do you think that's strange? Because he would have had to call both of them separately. And I don't know, it just something seems odd about that. That he called
Here's
both
what
of them
I'm
the same day.
thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. It's been said that Dylan had also been going up to Idaho on occasion, and that while he was there, I am assuming he's had contact with his parents, he's had contact with his friends, and yes, he does have friends, and he was doing things that they were aware of. They were in contact with him, and then he went back and he went to his farm, and they all knew that Dylan was getting ready to deal with the seed, and that they were all excited. Dylan was talking about the progress, getting ready to do this and that. And I think that this was a key time where Dylan would have contacted him, that he was excited. He accomplished something. He had one more step, and that, he was ready to really celebrate with them, whether it's FaceTime, whether it's a phone call. He was so happy, and they were staying in communication with him. So I don't think it's unusual that he contacted his parents at that time. The next
That's a
2 days to follow, if we look at it, the next 2 days to follow was the last of his prep time, the last of getting important things done. And so Thursday to me seems like a good day to call them and to contact them and talk about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I guess I think I just didn't make myself. What I meant is exactly kind of what you said. Is that I think it's significant. I shouldn't have said weird. I should have said significant. Like you're saying, like there was something going on that he was either happy about or scared about. And I think happy about, like you're talking about, makes the most sense. I just meant, I guess there's something significant that caused him to call both parents in the same day, because it wasn't
Yeah.
like call them both like our kids, Keith and mine, they'll call one of us and we'll put it on speaker. So they would, it's not unusual that they'll talk to both parents. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but the fact that that he took the time to call both of them separately, I think is significant. And so I think the fact of what you're saying, and Athena seems to be agreeing with you, he was happy, and so I'm going to go. A lot of people have mentioned on this car ride about was this story about Bloody Guy a message to Candace? I don't. It's a good question. All right. We're gonna go now. We're almost caught up to where we ended last night, an hour and a half in. But this is just so interesting. It's so the eyewitness sighting of Dylan and Montello. This is information related to the police or from the police to the family, but with changing stories can't be reliable. So just keep in mind, this is our only slide, in my opinion, that has a little more speculation than the others, because we're trying to, this in and of itself, the very point from the timeline right here says it's on the timeline, but it says it's unreliable. But since it was on the timeline, we went ahead and addressed it here. And so, who was the eyewitness that saw him on the 27th? We kind of know that it was Kurt, right? But it doesn't say on the official timeline. It says eyewitness. So why was that eyewitness deemed unreliable? Was Dylan and Montello on the night of the 27th? We have heard from Kurt that he was. We've heard from Kurt's daughter that he was. Where was he? Was he at the bar? We've heard that he was. Who was he with? How long did he stay? Who did he leave with? What time did they leave? Were they drinking? Were they getting along? Were they fighting? Did they say where they were going? Did they talk to anyone else? What were they wearing? Was Dylan wearing his boots? Was he wearing his John Deere hat? There are a lot of questions. Thank you so much. Isn't it curious? That's such a nice statement. And Belinda, I'll get right back with you on that question. I'll put it right there so I don't forget. But did Dylan stay in Montello on the 27th? We kind of know in quotes that he didn't, because the interviews that we've heard have said that he didn't. Kurt's daughter said Dylan told Kurt he was going to plant all night Friday night. Says he left Montello Friday night heading back to the farm. So questions are, is this true? Does anyone have any proof that Dylan made it back to the farm on Friday night? Why did Sammy and Kurt in their interviews state they both saw Dylan Wednesday through Friday in Montello, but law enforcement has stated Dylan was still out of town on the 27th? So there's a discrepancy. And then when Candace said Dylan was planting a little late, did she mean late in the year or late at night? I assumed she meant late in the year, but if he had told Kurt and Sammy, if he did tell them that he was going to plant all night, when he talked to Candace the day before, did he tell her he was going to plant all night Friday night? And so was Dylan planting a little late because he was working on other farms, and meaning that a little late would have been late in the year? And what was he doing? We kind of know some of these answers again from hearsay in terms of, interviews and done with Kurt, Sammy, and some other, even some from Candace. What was his relationship with those other farm owners? Was it good or was it bad? Did he have any disagreements with these other farm owners? I would say any issues over money. I'm going to add that one. Any issues over money due or owed? If so, why? Would Dylan's tractor be far enough away to just not disturb people from sleeping if he was going to plant all night long? Because supposedly he had told Kurt and Sammy that he was going to work for 20 hours straight. And if he planted all night, then why would he need to put the seed away? And some people have, I think there were some people that were listening to our conversation last night and went a little bit further with that and would have said he would have been going back and getting more and planting and continually going back and forth if he planted all night. So now, Patricia, I'm going to let you kind of comment on that while I go through what's come up in chat while I was reading all that.
Okay, so I'll just say this, and I'm not discrediting what was said, but today I heard that Kurt said that he saw Dylan at 9 a.m. on Friday. So Kurt is saying, oh no, it wasn't Friday night. It was Friday morning. So that makes me look at, the timeline and say, okay, what's really true? If Dylan was in Montello in the morning, why was he there in the morning? What was he doing? Who was he interacting with? Now, if Dylan then left, let's say, in the afternoon, the early evening, middle of the evening, and was going back to Montello, from Montello to Lucin, which is where his farm was, what time did it really take place? And did it take place? I am not sure that Dylan left Montello at any particular time. Now, if we're looking at, it said that Dylan planned to be working on putting the seed out overnight, during the night, into the morning, all night. And then this guy, Dylan, is then going to go load up his truck and then take the seed over to, that's a lot of hours. That means that kid didn't have any sleep. You think about it. When did he wake up on Friday morning? He didn't have any sleep. Now you're talking about really a 20-hour period with no sleep. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's a long period of time. Sorry, guys. My dogs just decided to go crazy. But that is a very long period. I mean, it's less significant for someone his age. My kids do it every now and then when they have baseball tournaments, but it's still a long period without sleep and usually would result in a crash of sleep afterwards.
Yeah. And so I'm really still seeing a very foggy timeline from Friday, Dylan being in Montello, and then he is telling his grandmother Saturday morning that he can't really talk. He's got to get the seed into the grain shed because it's going to rain, or it's starting to rain. But we're looking at the people that are saying, oh no, he was here at 9 in the morning in Montello, and then he was going to put out the seed, and then he was going to then do the grain truck. To me, that's 24 hours with no sleep, and it doesn't make sense to me. Something isn't lining up there.
Yeah, this is a lot of speculation around one particular point to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of what TW. I'm just gonna call you all kind of random things. TW 2014. T. I might just start calling you T. T. We're so glad you're here, and it's nice that you're participating, and we really, really appreciate you being here. I think T is going to be it. That's just seems to be the easiest thing for me. Um, so yeah, there's a lot here. And DL Brigg brings up such a good point that Dylan's mom originally reached out to social media to help as she didn't know what else to do. But then a week or so later, the police and FBI were getting involved and social media went crazy. It did get kind of nutty, for a while. And that's why we're trying to kind of just rein it back in. And I know that a lot of times people watch true crime for entertainment, but for us, we just got where we really just wanted to dive into the facts. And so I'm not downing anybody else. I think there's a niche for every type of entertainment on YouTube. And it's just, this is what we decided we wanted to do. Athena says, why did the daughter say FBI did not believe her account? So she herself, Athena, Sammy said the FBI didn't believe her account. So why did daughter, we won't say her name, why did daughter say FBI did not believe her account?
Now, is that the daughter of Kurt? Is that what you
Sam.
mean?
Yeah, I think that's what. I think that's what.
Sammy.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's who. She actually. That's actually not her name, but that's the name she went by in the interview. And out of respect for anybody that decided not to use their real name, I'm gonna just go ahead and call her Sammy.
Yeah,
that's the name.
I think that's respectful. I agree with you, Cam.
Yeah. Plant all of the seed. Yeah, there's so many questions about this, and I think that the one. I mean, I don't know. This just kind of popped into my head, but I think, yeah, Amy said there would be furrows. I think the new rows of seeds planted or furrows. Let's add furrows here. Furrows or drill holes in the ground was there. There would be that. TW says I'll change my name tomorrow. Yeah.
That with regard to that, I've also heard that Dylan's younger brother has gone down to Dylan's farm, and he has kind of picked up, where Dylan left off, and he's doing some work with regard to the seed that was planted. Now, again, that is just something I heard, but I've heard it several times, and so it's like, if Dylan did plant seed, whenever that happened, it's said that his younger brother now is at the farm, or he was at the farm, and he was kind of picking up where Dylan left off. In other words, were they letting it just die? Did they verify that the seed was in fact planted by Dylan, whether it was overnight or whenever, and died out? Is it being kept up? Is somebody watering? The regular things that Dylan would have done on follow-up, if in fact did spend that time planting the seed. And so I would love to see Tyler maybe can update on that the next time he does a live stream.
Well, one of the things I did hear was that it was starting to green, and then for some reason, and that, so I think, and this is a question because I think this is pure speculation. So you have a great point. For some reason, I heard that they shut the farm down, that Justin turned off the pump and turned off the electricity, and they said it was just a sad. And Michael Moore confirmed that it had been completely shut down. So
Okay, I'll go with that then. And oh, that's heartbreaking, isn't it?
it is heartbreaking, and that's one of the things that Michael Moore said, is that it just like broke his heart to see. Yeah, Sally said, I thought Don was working the farm. I think I don't know what exactly happened, but I know that, yeah, I'm gonna add that one. Was seed gone from the truck? I'm adding that one, Sally. But I do know that Michael Moore said he had heard that Justin turned off the pump and turned out a power to the farm, and that Michael Moore confirmed that and said it was just a sad, sad thing to see. It was like metaphorically the power going out on Dylan's stream. Like Michael Moore actually said it kind of choked him up a little bit. Oh, right here. So Ann says, Kim Patricia, the dad Justin wrote on Facebook they had to turn the water off to the crops. He said it was turned on and off so much it made it crusty, so they had to stop it. Satellite images
Oh,
show that.
that is so sad, isn't it? Oh my goodness.
It
After all
is.
that hard work, all those, what was it, 3 years that he had been really prepping, getting things in order, working, at the other farms, doing everything in order. And his big dream now is gone, just like he's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And
Oh,
that's what Athena says. According to Black Dove, they're letting it die off now. I think he has the same source. He was on the night with us when Michael Moore was on here. Michael Moore is, for those of you that don't know, I'm saying it like everybody knows. Sorry. Michael Moore is a resident of Lucin who has been on our channel a couple of times and went out and looked at the gate, went out and took pictures of the gate for us. And so he had heard that Justin was turning the water and the power off. So he went out to verify on the farm and verified. And he really got kind of choked up, it seemed like a little bit, when he was telling us that that it was, basically, so metaphorically, turning the lights off on the farm, kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, it's going to make me sad, so I'll just leave it there.
well, and I just immediately thought of someone who's trained for a marathon, and they've been really putting in the effort. They've done everything they can, and they've also helped other farm communities out there. And he's really, gung ho. He's trained for it. He's working it, and he's in the race, and he suddenly disappears before the finish line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
so sad.
oh, it is so heartbreaking. And I know we say that it's heartbreaking, but my heart aches right now.
Mm-hmm. Michael, I mean, really, Michael Moore really got choked up, and me too. And I mean, it aches me too. He really got choked up when he was describing it. And Belinda, I was just trying to show you. I did see your comment actually on the video yesterday, and I added it to that first slide. So I do have your comment about why would they part ways over the washing machine. Chanel says, I saw on the Facebook page for the Dylan, the family is holding the visual seed planting for Dylan August 1st, 2022, on his birthday. All the info is on his page. So sad. That is sad
Yeah,
for sure. That is heart,
yeah.
as Elizabeth Robinson said, that is heartbreaking. Oh wait, so Mimi3 says grandfather had the water fixed and has it put back on. And I saw Sally up ahead say that Justin had rehired Don. So
Oh, praise the Lord. Don't keep the dream alive until something else is decided in the future. That he worked so hard, didn't he? And if they are going to continue in his legacy, in his honor, in respect for all of his hard work. I hope that's true. I hope that they said, you know what, let's go back and get this thing going and not shut it down quite yet.
Yep, for sure. I think so too. And Sally said she thinks both campers have been moved back home as well. I feel like, yeah, Erica, I think that's kind of the analogy that Michael was getting when they had turned everything off, and me too was kind of like turning off life support. Those are the words I was searching for. So thank you. And Sally, I had heard that. I thought I had heard that too. But so there's a lot of, when we get ready to do the unofficial timeline, there's a lot of additional questions. Now it's like, are they done searching the campers? I mean, now that they've returned them. Um, so Melissa stopping by from vacation to spread the love. Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you for the super chat. And I know Tyler will appreciate it out there on his living room tour that he is doing across the United States. And
We love
you
you,
are so,
Melissa. We love
we
you.
do love
So
you.
glad
We
to hear
missed
from you.
you. I hope you're having a great vacation. Thank you, sweetheart. And Belinda says, Black Dove changed his name. He's on live on Doug's channel, but I like Tyler's stream. Kim Tricia, great job. Thank you. I think there's an audience for all of us. I mean, I'm just enjoying what we're doing here with Patricia and y'all and asking these questions. It's relaxing to me after a long week of work. So, but I know there's an audience that who cares where people want to get their news. I'm just glad people are still talking about Dylan. And Belinda, we are so glad you're here with us. And I mean, there's usually when his stream finishes, people come over here and vice versa. I think there is I don't like it when people get competitive between channels. And so I
Well,
think it's Doug.
and also, Kim, Tyler is so clear on this. And those who are, really with Tyler, he has said over and over again, we are not going to trash other YouTube creators. We're here to unify. And we may have different perspectives. We may have different opinions. We may have different guests, etc. But if we can be respectful, not trash people, but be respectful, the unity on YouTube, at least with the ones that Tyler has been so good to keep in contact with, even invite onto his live stream, we're really here for the people that are missing. And so it's nice to take a break from some of the things that we've all seen on this channel, other channels. And right now, it's the unity that we want to focus on. And Tyler is the one who seems to be, whether he goes on other live streams, they all respect the presence of Tyler. What is that presence? He's respecting people. He's humble. He's engaged in these cases of missing people, and he does not trash other YouTube channels. And so let's respect that and carry on tonight. And whenever Tyler comes up with his upcoming live streams, let's all just be respectful of that. We don't need to trash anybody. We don't need to hurt anybody. We don't need to be divisive and finger pointing. Let's focus on the people that we're looking at, the missing people.
Amen. Amen. And thank you so much, Athena. Athena sent a super chat that I had on the screen just a couple of minutes ago that said Dylan had cracked the farming code, so to speak, for sure. And Sally says, I know everyone has been very respectful not going to Dylan's farm, so it's hard to know what's going on out there for sure. Yeah, for sure. And again, Michael Moore is the one we're talking about is from Lucin. He is a gentleman that sent us pictures of the gate before and after when it was a real gate and then when it was a wire gate. And he is the only source we had for that actually went out there when they were turning everything off. And we haven't heard back from him when they've turned everything on, but I might check in with him. I have his phone number and his email, so I'll check in with him before the next stream. And Sally says, I heard this crop Dylan was growing was worth 70K. Why wouldn't you finish it? Very good point. Melissa, bye. Melissa, have a good rest of your vacation. Love you. See you when you get back. But yeah, that's it. That was a good question, Sally. You know, why not finish it? Marge, I know it's not funny, but that's such a great statement. If I see two bloody guys in the same day, I'm out of town. Come on. That's a good point.
Oh, goodness,
That's
yes.
a really good point. Thank you, Katie, for the kind words. You're so sweet. When we love you around here, it definitely. I'm grateful. Unsolved Cases in News says, I think everyone has something to give. And as long as it helps find these people and missing people and reunites them with their family, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, just, it's just a nice thing that everybody can typically find a channel that suits their personality. So yes, Muskoka Mama says it absolutely hits home. I'm like adding words to everybody's post, sorry. But she says it hits especially close to home when a young man goes missing when we have boys of that age. Kim Brooks. Yes, absolutely, for sure. It does. And Janice says, but who do you trust in this whole caper? I trust Tyler. I hope that extends to us as well. But yes, I trust Tyler too. He's a great young man. Mother Bear says, Tyler and you both are amazing, non-judgmental, and accept everyone no matter religious beliefs, and all your hard work on these cases is commendable. Thank you so much, Mother Bear. That really means a lot, and that's a very, very nice thing to say. Sally, Michael does seem like a very nice guy, good family man. Joan says, thank you, Kim, Keith, Patricia, and all mods. It's been a good night praying for all of you. Thank you, Joan. You're so sweet. We
Yes,
love
Joan,
you
we
very much.
love you and thank you so much. You have been a pillar here, so we really appreciate you. You're praying for not only us, but you're praying for people in Feller Fam, in the chat, and so we really appreciate you.
Yes, for sure. Joan, have a wonderful night. All right, are we ready to go on to, I think I caught up with all the questions. Okay, so here's the phone call, the infamous phone call that I think we all pretty much decided was, I shouldn't say that. We all pretty much think it's likely that grandma, because on Nancy Grace, it was said that grandma called Dylan, but in the press release, it was said that Dylan called grandma. So I think we were all kind of assuming or guessing that grandma was probably calling Dylan and he called her back, because otherwise it wouldn't make much sense for him to just directly call her and say, I'm calling to tell you I can't talk to you right now, unless she had been calling him first and he was trying to explain why he wasn't calling her back. So this phone call at 6:51 a.m. takes place. So the first question, obviously, because it's still a question since it's not been definitively answered, since there's two opposing answers, are, did Dylan call grandma or did she call him and he called her back? In the call, did Dylan seem unusual? Was she calling to talk about the farm or something else? If she had called him first, was she calling to talk about the farm or something else happening? That's pretty early, 6:51 a.m. when, according to people that knew Dylan, he generally didn't get up till 9 a.m. So did grandma get any feeling when she did talk to Dylan that something was off by his voice, the intonation, since she couldn't assess his body language on a call? What was the real purpose of the call? That kind of goes back to why she was calling or why he was calling. And if he called her what is the word I'm looking for? Not unprovoked, but if he called her unsolicited and she hadn't called him first, then what was the real purpose of the call? Did someone make him make that call? Was the call intended to be some kind of SOS to grandma? A couple of you had mentioned on the Candace call, you thought maybe that was a sign or, some message he was trying to get to Candace. Was this 6:51 call a message he was trying to get to grandma? And then if she made the first call, why? And did she hear anybody in the background or near to Dylan when the call was made? Was he alone? Was she calling repeatedly and he wasn't picking up? So he called back to say, I can't talk, but I want you to know I'm acknowledging your call. What else was said in the call? Oh, I skipped one. Is this a normal time of day for her to get a call from him? Because again, we've heard that he didn't get up till, around 9. Why haven't we heard from grandma? I mean, it's obviously it's none of our business. She doesn't have to talk to us, but why hasn't she made any statement about that call? It makes me think that there was something significant about or in that call, maybe who was in the background, maybe things that were said, things that were not said, because typically, she hasn't said anything about the call. Candace hasn't said anything about the call. Makes me think she was told maybe not to say anything about the call. Has anyone talked to Grandpa about these questions? How do we know he wasn't under duress during the phone call? What was he doing while he was talking to her? So, not just what was in the background, but what was he doing? Was he making breakfast? Was there anyone else there? Aside from saying he had to get the seed covered, was there any other indication of why he had to leave or get off the phone so quickly? There is a lot there about that call, that one little call as well. Mama Berry said, is it possible grandma knew he was planting seed all night? That's a good question. Okay, I'm going to add that one. That's a really good question. Um,
Yeah.
did she call him because she knew he would be up if he had been planting seed all night?
That is a question I was thinking about today. And so I really love that she brought that up. But you're thinking about farming. And to the farmers that may be on the chat, wouldn't it make sense that you want to get things done? You're up in the morning, between 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. You've got a big day planned ahead. You need to get that seed into a grain shed. You have a routine. Now, there may be days where Dylan slept in till 9 a.m. He didn't really have anything going on. It wasn't going to be, a particularly busy day on his farm. There may be days where another farmer out there said, hey, Dylan, let's have you come out. You can help me with this or that. And Dylan had to get up, drive time, get over there with his equipment or the equipment of other farms that he worked on. And he had to get up early. They would want to take the time to get things done according to the workforce, according to what needed to be done at a certain particular time of day. And so it could vary. Dylan may not have needed to get up really, really early every day, but the farmers that are in the chat, those of you who maybe grew up on farms, those of you who know farmers, you would know that there would be some kind of schedule. It would be seasonal. It could be weekly during the seasons of certain things, depending on what you're planting, what you have to prepare for in advance. When it harvests, what are you going to do to get things in order? What time of day is best, etc. It's all about scheduling. So I don't hang my hat on, well, he was somebody that always woke up at 9 a.m. If there was nothing needed to be done at the crack of dawn, that would make sense to me, but I'm not a farmer.
Yeah, there is a lot of good points you made in there, and there's a lot of good points in these questions. And I think it goes, Sally makes a good point too. What if Dylan was down at the shed, Donna heard him and thought it was an intruder? That's always been kind of in the back of my mind too, is what if this was a total accident and now these guys are trying to cover it up? What if it was something like that? Like they thought it was an intruder, or I don't know, but that has been in my mind too, for sure.
I would replace that with not Dawn, but Jim. Jim lived right there next to the grain shed. Did Jim think it was an intruder? That's just my thought.
Mm-hmm.
And Sally's, you're awesome. I'm not taking away from your questions because I have not seen you before in chat, but you are really bringing up some great points. I'm just thinking that it was Jim Brenner who lived right there next to the grain shed. Was it him? Did he think? Now remember, he still had weapons. in his home, in his, yeah. And so I'm thinking that, I see that she says that she meant Jim. Okay, yeah. It does make sense to me that Jim may have heard something, not expecting anybody at that time of day, and he overreacted with a weapon. That's just a thought.
I think that's totally possible because I've wondered that, I mean, because here's the thing, a lot of these guys seem to be, and this is just seem to be from their past, whether you talk about their criminal past or their just what people say about them, they seem to be a little hot-headed. And so that would tend to lend one to be reactionary, like
Yeah.
react before thinking. And so that I think it is entirely possible that this could have been a horrible accident and that they're covering it up. And especially, I know I sound like a broken record on the gate thing, but I really, for some reason, I keep going back to that gate, and I just wonder if it wasn't as y'all are saying about the grain shed, or whether it was at the gate. If there wasn't some kind of accident, and this has just turned into a big kind of cover up of a friends here who are not turning on each other, but maybe it wasn't intentional.
I think that's something we really have to consider, Kim.
Yeah,
Could it
I
have
agree.
been, that early in the morning, Jim may have been caught off guard. Here's Dylan at the gate. Was he ramming the gate? I don't know. But that there was something that triggered Jim. We've heard that Jim used to shoot out, whatever with his muskets or whatever, and warn people, don't come here. Don't come near the gate. Don't come near this. Don't come near that. And that Jim may have been woken up out of a sound sleep. I don't know. But that he overreacted. If Dylan did somehow get that gate open, whether he rammed it, we've all seen that post on the left at that gate to the grain um, shed. It's bent. Did somebody ram it? Was it Dylan? Was Jim in a fog and going out there and just, Dylan stepped out of his truck? I don't know. But did Jim overreact? And
Yeah,
so
I
the
I
what? And here's the thing:
Right.
if it happened at the gate, and Jim, finally went, "Uh-oh, this didn't end well." Did Jim then take the grain truck, park it inside the grain shed, and now, he's got to lock the gate, he's got to cover his tracks. I may be jumping ahead.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I said it too. I really think something happened at the gate, and I really hope that it was accidental. I mean, my personal. If I know we're kind of put your tinfoil hat on here. This is what I always tell Tyler. This is pure speculation. Nobody get mad at me. Don't come for me, to quote Stephanie Harlow. But if somebody said, "What is your theory today?" My theory would be that Dylan got there. He was in a hurry. Some reason the gate was locked. He had either lost his key fob was missing, and it made him mad. And he had a little bit of a temper. He was in a hurry and he rammed the gate. And then I think he made it to the grain shed, perhaps. And I think he was coming back. And there was even some speculation, some talk that Jim was supposed to give him a ride back to his truck to the farm. And I think if Jim could have seen, if the gate was rammed and Jim saw that and said, "Boy, what did you do? Why'd you do that?" And they started going at each other, and Jim having much significant size on Dylan, I think it could have just been I mean, a situation. That's if I had to put again, that's okay, speculation over. If I had to put on my tinfoil hat, that's kind of where I think that's kind of what I think is it something like that would be very logical.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
So rural, yeah, we know where Ackworth is. I have a very good friend that lives in Ackworth, and we used to play baseball up there. I had to answer that question real quick, but I think that's kind of where I think something, you know, could have happened along those lines, and they're both a little hot headed, and it seems like, and I just Mickey said the gate makes me feel like he never made it to the grain shed. I think that's possible too, but I do think a gate doesn't change itself for no reason, right, Patricia? It doesn't become
I
go from being a big gate to a wire gate for no reason in the same period of time that somebody goes missing.
I agree. And, I'm not going to jump ahead, but my train of thought then was if Jim realized, uh-oh, what did I just do? And everybody, I am jumping ahead, and Kim does not have to run down to, Monday, Tuesday, whatever. I am just thinking that if it was Jim, he had a confrontation, he made a bad judgment call. If he did something to Dylan, how could one man, being Jim Burr, have hiked Dylan's body, Dylan in some kind of very bad compromised situation? How could have he hiked him up and walked him to all these mine shafts? And I've looked at all the video. There's no way that one guy could have dragged Dylan all that way. If you look at the trails, they are a quarter of a mile and longer. I am just saying that there was a closer place, if it was Jim alone, that could have taken Dylan and dumped him closer. Now that's down the line, so that's where my mind is going. Was
Yeah,
it just one person? Was it just Jim? Did Jim have help? If it was Jim, I don't think he's getting on the phone and calling people and saying, I just did something to Dylan. I need you to help me to hide his body. If it was Jim, what was the closest area that he thought he could get rid of Dylan and hide him by himself? That's down the road.
Yeah, I think, hold on, this is a good question. I'm going to make sure I get TW's question in there. I agree. The only exception I could see to that is if Don Hatley and Jim were good friends, I could see possibly Jim in the moment calling up Don and saying, I messed up. It was an accident. It was not on purpose. I need your help. And, maybe that's what I could just see that. I could see him calling one other person and saying, I messed up. I made a mistake. It was an accident. It wasn't intentional. Now I don't know what to do. And I could see maybe that happening.
And
I don't
that's
know.
why we're asking all the questions, because we don't
Yeah.
know the answers.
Yep. Okay. How much seed left? All right. We are now, I think, about where nope, we got one more. Okay. So this is the last phone ping. This is another one that has to do with the same questions. So at 3:41 is that last phone ping that came from one of the apps on Dylan's phone. So based on that 3:41 ping, so we know at 6:51 he talked to grandma, right? And then so that's close to 7 o'clock. I have to do round math in my head. And then at 3:41 we have another ping on his phone, but we necessarily don't know that he had his phone. But oh well, should be the first question. Oh, we have that in here. Never mind. But so basically 5, 8, almost 9 hours later, there's still a ping on his phone. So all the questions about that are: did he make it to the grain shed? Was the gate unlocked or locked when he got there? We know that later when Candace and then went there, it was locked. But I want to know. Oh, here, I'm going to put that here. I want to know when Candace got there, Was it the wire gate? Because I want to know when the old gate, okay, here, when was the good gate up and then down and replaced with the wire gate? I want to know when that happened. Because if it happened a week before this, then it's a moot, and then it's not relevant. But if it happened during this period, if the good gate was up on Friday and the wire gate was up on Sunday, then that would be weird. So we really need to know when the gates changed. Annie, I've thought about that, unfortunately, too. And yeah, Danny, I too hope he's not deceased. You know, with each day, it looks less and less likely that he would be alive. Mama Berry, yeah, if Dylan really was hot-headed, it could be a gate issue and altercation with Jim. We know Jim's hot-headed, right? Jim's already been in a couple different altercations that were with, quote, intent to murder on the actual charges. Hey, Salty Pancakes, how are you? I hope you're having a good evening and positive vibes to you as well. Ann says, could the backhoe have buried Dylan and or evidence? And I don't know if you were the one that asked that question last night or not, but I have that exact question when we get to the miscellaneous questions. So we do have that one. Let's see. I've been wondering about the use of cadaver dogs. That DL Brigg, that's in our miscellaneous questions too. We got that one. Underground radar. Well, Brandon, I don't have that one. So I'm gonna add that one up here. Actually, I'll add that when we get to the search. Just remind me, because we're gonna get to the search in just a minute. But okay, so was there another route Dylan could have used to avoid the gate? Because somebody mentioned last night, Black Dove mentioned last night that he heard there was another route to the grain shed that avoided the gate. But again, that's just a question because we don't have any proof of that yet. Did Dylan have his key? Did he lose his key? Was there anything at all about the gate that was out of the norm that could have made, hold on, I'm too zoomed, I can't see all of it, could have made him upset? If he did drive the grain truck to the grain shed, did he make it there? Did the truck get parked inside? Because we know that Candace said that the truck had to be towed out of the grain shed. But in one of the interviews, I think with Salty, Kurt said that the key was in the grain truck. So anyway, we know that supposedly, according to Candace, the truck was in the grain shed. But the question here that we have in our questions is, did the truck get parked inside when Dylan was there, if Dylan made it there? Was it clear Dylan drove the grain truck? When did Dylan buy the grain, and why wasn't it already undercover? Somebody asked that tonight. Did someone use a hoe to rake the footprints by the truck and around Dylan's boots? Could Dylan have housed the grain the night before, Friday night, and lied to Grandma for some other reason, like he lied to Mom if he did about the barefoot man? Where was the truck when Candace and Justin got there? Who drove it out if it was in the shed? Did he walk back? Was it logical for him to walk in the rain? Was it normal for him to walk back the 5 miles? And again, we've heard that Kurt had thought that he was going to need to go get him, but then Dylan didn't call him, so he thought maybe Jim had given him a ride. Where was Jim Brenner while Dylan was dealing with the grain truck in the shed? You know, because that's where Jim Brenner was supposed to be responsible for this grain truck and shed. And we need to add that question because that has always bothered me, is why was Jim Brenner in charge of the gate and grain shed for what we're assuming is Joe Cecchio, however you say that. How was Dylan's phone triangulated to a certain spot when there is only one tower? Did Dylan have more than one phone? How far did the cell tower registration say the phone was from both Kurt and Dylan's trailers? Was there another call to the landowner, which we don't know if it was Sheldon or Cecchio? And supposedly the FBI said this didn't happen, but there's other people that say it did. So that's why it's a question. Was there another call to the landowner that resulted in a voicemail that was confiscated by the FBI? If so, to who? Because what landowner? Was that Cecchio? Was that Sheldon? Was that Hirschberger? Who? To who? What was said? Was it Dylan or was it just Dylan's phone? And why does the ping show the phone operating so far in the other direction of the farm if the rain was coming? So it was, in the other direction away from the farm. Logically, wouldn't one go to shelter during the rain? So I think the implication there and that person's question was that someone taking the phone and hiding it or trying to get it, throw it off track? And the 241 or 341 ping, that's Eastern versus, that's just time zone difference. That could be Dylan being taken out of the area, possibly with his own truck, since that was the last ping. Does that indicate that whatever happened between 6:31 a.m. and 2:41 p.m.? I think so. Well, that should be 6:51. That's a typo on my part. 6:51 a.m. and 2:41 p.m. Was the ping truly Dylan or someone else? And that would indicate foul play. Do they, by they, does the FBI or Candace/Justin have Dylan's phone? Candace said they hacked into his social media. That would pretty much, this is a Black Dove comment, and this is kind of what he does for a living. Wouldn't this be impossible unless they had Dylan's real old phone and not just one where his iCloud was logged in? So what that means is Candace had said they got a phone and they logged into his iCloud and they hacked into his social media. But the way for lack of a better word, the cookie on a phone works is that if you just log into iCloud and you don't have the registry from having logged in with your username and password before on the phone, then just logging into iCloud is going to bring up everything that was there, but most likely it's still going to make you log in, because the only time it doesn't, how when you get a new phone, most of you have experienced this, even if you put your iCloud in or your Google username and password, if it's a new phone, all your apps are going to show up there, but it's usually still going to require you to log in. But once you've logged in once, it registers that login on your phone and you can stay logged in if that app allows it. But in this case, if they had put his iCloud on a different phone, it doesn't stand to reason that they would be able to get into his accounts unless it was his phone, or they were also able to guess the password to his email, which leads me to another question. If they somehow got access to his email, was there anything weird in there? Odd. We'll say odd. Okay, so that's a whole bunch. They did search the pond, Erica. They actually drained the pond. They drained the pond and searched it. I read that on the frequently asked questions from the official page. All right. That ping, Cat says that ping makes me wonder if D could have run a ways. Yeah, because it would have been in the opposite direction, which is interesting. Sally said Dylan was giving people jobs. I don't think they would hurt him. That's a good point. That's a really good point. Unless, again, it was an accident, just somebody, being a little hot-headed. Maybe that's a possibility. All right, Patricia, I'm going to let you talk for a minute. I got to do something real quick, so I'm going to let you kind of carry the conversation for a second.
Okay, with regard to the 3:41 p.m. ping, and we're talking about different time zones, so it would have been 2:41. Here's what I know about at least my phone, and that is I can accidentally bump it, and an app will generate. It'll come up. It happens with my Norton 360. It happens when, there's all these different things that are icons and I might hit one accidentally. What if that ping at 2:41, 3:41, depending on the time zone, what if somebody had that phone, or if Dylan still had that phone and there was a jostling going on, the phone may have been hit. All I have to do on my phone is accidentally hit something and it generates a ping. It also can generate an app. So I'm wondering at that point in time, Was it Dylan trying as a last resort to get his phone that maybe he still had possession of? Or was it somebody else who took Dylan's phone, accidentally jostled it, moved it, and an app came up and that generated the ping? So those are my questions. We don't
I think
know. We don't know if it was Dylan, if he was trying to engage his phone, if it was accidentally touched on an app by Dylan or someone else.
very good points. And Belinda says, why put a lock on a supposed fence with wire? Yeah, Belinda, that's why I keep going back to that gate, because to me it shows there's some sort of contention in the relationship. Because if Jim always knew that Dylan always had to use that gate, right? Unless, as Black Dove was saying last night, unless there's an alternate pathway or alternate route that doesn't require the gate. If Jim knew that Dylan always had to use it, and Jim worked for Dylan and supposedly lived with Dylan for a period of time, and they were, kind of friends in a way, and Jim supposedly drove the grain truck sometimes. Dylan had hired him to drive the grain truck and had even driven Dylan's truck at times. Then there is a relationship, a friendship there of some sort, or at least, of some degree, but there was contention over this gate. So if all this is true about Jim and Dylan and they were kind of friends, then it makes me think that whoever the landowner was, which, could get into a whole bunch of can of worms, about, like Tyler talked about, water right. It could, who knows? But it makes me think that there is some level of contention from the landowner, where Jim was put out there and said, you keep that gate closed. And this is, again, me speculating, but you keep that gate closed, and, you control the gate, you control the grain shed. And maybe that was, again, speculation here. Maybe that was to kind of push the issue of Dylan buying the grain shed. Maybe the grain shed owner, maybe Grandpa said, we only want to buy the land right now. And supposedly they still owed 40 grand for that. But we only want to buy the land right now. We'll buy the shed once the harvest comes in and we make the money. Because as Sally was saying earlier, that was supposed to be a $70,000 harvest, right? So maybe the thing was, okay, once the harvest comes in, then we'll buy the grain shed. So maybe the owner of the land was trying to make it a little difficult to use, to kind of make sure that they went through with the purchase. But there's something weird. I totally agree, Belinda, about a lock being on a gate out in the middle of nowhere. And Michael Moore had mentioned maybe it was because the sun tunnels were nearby and they wanted to keep tourists off the land. But I think it was a little bit more than that. I feel like there was a reason that lock was on the gate. And I feel like that reason or whatever happened about that could have contributed to this. Sorry, Patricia. I know that was a lot of me speculating. I'm sorry.
No, it just provoked me to think while you were just now talking. Number one, that land where the grain shed was owned by Joe Chechio. And I was thinking, okay, why would Joe put Jim Brenner on that property? I think there had to be some good PR done by Dawn, Kurt, maybe both of them. And I also have learned, and it's something that I've heard, is that grain shed was not only used by Dylan Rounds, that there were other farmers who on occasion would also use that grain shed. And so I think that Chechio probably had an agreement with various farmers, maybe only a few, that this grain shed could be used to store seed, grain, whatever, and that he had to place somebody on that property that could regulate who was coming in, what they were bringing, and so that person, and I'm thinking it's Jim Brenner, had to report back to Chechio and say, yeah, so-and-so from this farm is bringing this into the grain shed, and that Dylan was not the only one that was using the grain shed. And that may explain why there was a lock at the gate entrance. Now, was it the only entrance to that grain shed? That I don't know. I'm not sure. But it would make sense to me that if you're a landowner and you have several different farmers bringing in whatever product or seeds or grain or whatever, that you would want to know who's using it, because that's a way to make money. Okay. And so I think that it was something that Jim was put in charge of all this. Jim, being in the mindset, looking at his history of what his past has shown us, of what a hothead, what he's done with weapons against people, attempted murder, etc. I don't think that Checchio really did a background check on Jim Brenner. I think somebody with good reputation, or somebody that Checchio knew, like Kurt, like Don, said, oh, okay, you're recommending that this guy come and stay right there by the grain shed. I don't think Checchio was looking at the background of Jim Brenner. And you look at the other two properties that are right up against the boundary line of Checchio's, and there's one guy, the last name starts with an I. It's a long name, I don't remember. And then there was another landowner that also owned property right up against that boundary. And so I think the key thing here is that Checchio owned the grain shed property. There were several other, as far as I'm understanding, other farmers that would on occasion use the grain shed for various reasons. Jim Brenner was put in charge of regulating it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I'm seeing.
I just had a whole thing, and then Keith just told me I had no sound. Okay. Let me start over on that, because I just had he was like, that whole thing you just said, you had no sound. But I forgot to unmute. But so what I was saying is, Patricia, this is pure speculation, and you just brought out a really, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there, because I can't not say it. And when you were talking, it made me think of this. But what if Brenner had a side hustle running? Because it makes, what you said makes total sense about whether or not he was kind of the gatekeeper for Checchio. What if Brenner had a side hustle where he was almost acting kind of like the mafia does, where they collect protection money, and he was making, he's skimming a little bit off of this use of the grain shed? And what if Dylan either found out about that, or he was doing it to Dylan? And maybe that's where, if Dylan did indeed call the landowner, maybe that's why. Maybe Brenner found out that the gig was about to be up. Maybe that caused a fight. I know that is pure speculation and way out there, so I apologize to everybody. But when you were talking about it, it made me think, wow, there's more people involved. Now, was he collecting money for the landowner? And anytime, just okay, not anytime, but you think fox in the hen house, right? I don't know if you're giving someone with that kind of criminal history that much power and that much trust. A lot of times that gets violated.
I agree. I think that Checchio didn't know Jim Brenner personally enough to know his criminal background, and that perhaps on good word recommendations, perhaps by Don, perhaps by uh, Kurt, someone, that Checchio said, you know what, there's a trailer, let's put Jim in there, and let's have him kind of regulate who's coming and going. I think innocently, I don't think Checchio knew Jim Brenner's background. And so that sets it up for what you just said, Kim. There is somebody in the hen house guarding that area who has a criminal background of really bad things, and that Jim Brenner probably started feeling like, you know what, I'm running the show here. Maybe Checchio was paying Jim Brenner to be there. It could very well be. You think about it, you got a security guard in any other situation who's guarding property. I'm going to pay this guy so much. He's in charge of this and that. And then you have Jim Brenner with the kind of mindset that this guy has had for decades. He suddenly decided, I am in charge. I'm the gatekeeper. And
Literally.
so, yeah. And so what kind of connections did Jim have that could have been almost like mafia? Or could it have been something involved with being the militia boss for that territory? You look at his mindset and what he's done in the past. Where was his mind at that point in time? And how could it have played out against Dylan? That's what I'm thinking. I think it's a control thing. Kim, you have said it over and over again. It's a control thing. I'm with you on that.
I really, the more, because I've always thought it was the gate, right? I've always thought it had something to do with the gate. But now that you said that and then more people using it, I started thinking, I wonder if he's, okay, so, like he's seeing the landowner make all this money, right? And he's like, you can just imagine the conversation going on in his head potentially. I'm the one doing all the work. I'm the one that's getting up at 6 a.m. I'm the one that's doing this, that, or the other. I deserve some of this. So I could see him justifying that in his head. And then if Dylan were to find out about that or be a victim of it, and maybe, okay, now I know I've seen too many mafia movies, but maybe the price went up, right? Maybe, okay, if you're going to get up at 6 a.m. and work all night, and I'm going to have to get up and unlock this gate, you're going to have to pay me more. I'm not paying you more. I shouldn't be paying you when I'm already paying you. Yes, you will. Call to landowner, and then Dylan's missing. I could totally see that playing out that way.
Was Jim playing a game with Dylan? In other words, okay, Dylan, this is a big time coming up for you, and you need to also pay me because I am being the gatekeeper. And if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have a place to come in and store the seed. I mean, you don't know the mindset of Jim Brenner. Did it go to his head totally? And he was saying to the other farmers, was he saying to Dylan, hey, yeah, I'm getting paid for this. It's hardly enough. And so you guys want to come in at all these little odd hours, different days, different times, pay me for it. Make it worth my time, or I won't help you. I get it.
Yep. And Zavuya, I have that comment is in here. You and I think alike. I had that same thought. Yeah, I really think, I mean, I know that it's speculation and we were trying not to do that, but I really think that's a possibility. I really do think that was a possibility. Um, it just makes a lot of sense.
Hey,
So
Kim,
Kathleen, yeah,
can I put it in question form? In
sure.
other words, did Jim Brenner use his position? Did he use his position as a power play against Dylan for coming and using the grain shed?
Okay.
It could have been favors. It could have been buy me a beer when I'm in Montello. It could have been pay me under the table, Dylan, if you want me to be there to unlock that gate. So I'm thinking, did Jim have some kind of a unwritten rule with Dylan? You want to use this place? Pay me.
Yep, I really think that's a possibility. It happens all the time. It happens all the time when people are hired to have control over something that is monetary versus use. You know, in other words, they're collecting money for use because that's so hard to document. I mean, that's usually where most swindling, embezzlement, those kind of things take place, is because it's so hard to document usage, right? You know, it's not, unless there's like a clock in, clock out, and we know the shed most likely did not have that. It's really hard to track usage, especially in like the farm world and construction and all those kind of things. So you see a lot of fraud, swindling, embezzlement in those fields because of the fact that it's so hard to track, to prove, right? It's hard to
Well, and
prove.
here's another thing, Kim. If Jim had that kind of a control and he was telling Dylan, you got to pay me, buddy. I got to be at your beck and call.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan would have had to pay him cash. Jim's
Mm-hmm.
not going to say, yeah, write me a check or let's go to Montello and you're going to use your credit card. It would have been cash.
Oh, for sure. I really think that there's some possibilities in there, and you know, hopefully law enforcement, FBI has looked into that, because I strongly feel that that's we're on to something there. I'm going to go on to the next one because we could probably talk about this all night, but I think that is where a lot of people think it's the Friday night thing. I think it's this. I think there was a reason that fence, I guess you could call it, gate, whatever, was locked and was kept locked, and Brenner had control over it. And it doesn't, from like listening to, you know, some of the things that Kurt said in Salty's interview and some of the things Candace has said, it doesn't appear that the relationship was necessarily acrimonious between Jim and Dylan, but I would argue that there could be points of contention, and that there could be contention topics or subjects, and I feel like that could definitely be one. So, all right, let's go to Chase was seen Saturday, May 28th. Chase Venstra is seen on camera 200 miles away from Lucin. Candace says that on Sleuth Mom interview 613. Okay, this is the part. I mean, I'm all Brenner for the most part, but this really throws me off. This really throws me off quite a bit. Is why was Chase, why was Chase 200 miles away? How did he get there? Did he tell anyone he was going there, or why he went? Who knew to look on camera at that place, which I'm assuming was Little Caesars, 200 miles away? So who knew to look on camera? Because it says Chase seen on camera 200 miles away. Why was the camera 200 miles away pulled? Did Chase offer this information? So does that mean he was asked where he was? Those are all questions I have about this whole Chase seen on camera 200 miles away.
Hey, Kim,
Yes, ma'am.
Here's something that I'm looking at. The FBI gets involved, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
they are saying, and I've read it, you've all read it, that Chase was also being investigated for another possible murder in that area, that he had some involvement. So it may not be directly involved with Dylan's disappearance, but that Chase might have felt the heat. The whole thing with Robert Aviles and whatever, but that Chase was feeling the heat, and that he wanted to make sure that he was seen out there 200 miles away. Well, was he thinking, okay, now I know I'm involved, and I'm speculating, folks. I know I'm involved with somebody else's murder, but now Dylan is disappeared. I've heard it, or he may have been involved. I'm not saying that, but he says, okay, I got to be 200 miles away, get myself to a place where I'm seen on camera at a pizza place. I think the FBI looked at that. And I think that's one of the reasons that the FBI also was involved with making sure that Chase Venstra was arrested after that. Not necessarily because of Dylan's disappearance, but because they were already looking at Chase's possible involvement with somebody else's murder in that area. So Chase is trying to cover his tracks. It's no coincidence that he ran 200 miles away. Did he have something to do with Dylan? But I'm thinking he knew the FBI was close on his tracks regarding somebody else's murder. That's why he's being held. That's why they keep postponing trials and hearings. Chase has done something in the past that led up to the FBI yanking him into custody, and now he's in jail awaiting hearings, trials. But they're also saying, okay, we don't know if he had something to do with Dylan's disappearance, but their main focus is on Chase being involved with somebody else being murdered. That's what I've read in the news reports.
Yeah, somebody's saying, could he be held for protection? EW, do you mean, who do you mean? Do you mean Chase or Dylan? Or because some people have suspected that maybe Dylan's in protective custody, and maybe that's why the FBI has gone silent. Athena, I see. Are you going? I wanted to thank you for all your super chats and always being so supportive. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. If you're heading out, it looks like you're heading out, or either Muskoka Mama is. So whichever one of y'all is heading out, love both of y'all. Thank you for being here, and good night. But okay, so Chase. So EW is saying maybe Chase is being held in protective custody, like maybe he knows something about what happened to Dylan. And that's a good point. Where is it? They did say Chase had been off his rocker lately leading up to this. By the way, I heard they found 3 bodies. One was a woman, none were Dylan. Okay. We talked about that a little bit earlier, Mo Mouse. Thank you for clarifying, because we weren't sure how many bodies had been found. Okay. So then on Sunday, here's where it starts getting into the search. Dylan had not called his grandma, so she called Dawn, which we are assuming is Dawn Hatley. And Dawn and Jim go to Dylan's farm to look for him, but he is nowhere. How long and how good of friends is Grandma with Don Hatley? How does she know him? How long has she known him? Why does she trust him so much? Does she trust him so much? Why did they wait 24 hours to check for him or to look for him after Grandma asked them? Or did they? Were they already searching for Dylan Saturday night, the 28th, according to interviews with Candace and Sammy, Kurt's daughter, if Grandma didn't ask them to look before Sunday, the 29th? So why would they have started looking on the 28th? Were they really searching Saturday night or just Sunday? Did they think something was wrong, or did they just think grandma was overreacting and worrying for nothing? What was their thought process when they were searching for Dylan? Did they think this was serious? Did they call Kurt to help them search, or for any other reason? These are all questions, that have came up last night about this. Candace says they found the truck at the trailer and that the pickup was locked. Does she know this, or is this what Don and Jim told her? Who locked the truck? Because we know we know from Kurt's interview that Dylan didn't typically lock his truck, and that's not surprising out there. Why weren't Jim and Don worried? This one is the one that gets me. If they got to the trailer and they say the trailer was unlocked and they went in the trailer and they say the truck was locked, but the trailer was unlocked, why weren't they more worried? Why weren't they worried about this? Why didn't this not worry them more? Because that would seem to be strange. But yet they called back grandma the next morning and said everything appeared to be fine. I don't understand how that appears to be fine. But
Hey, Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
Kim, here's something, what you just said. Okay, so Dawn gets a call from the grandmother. She says, you know what? Dylan did not call me back. Could you go and check on him? I think that Dawn went and looked. I think that later, maybe the next day, maybe that night that Dawn went looking for Dylan, didn't find him, or the next morning, Dawn contacted Jim and said, you know what, Jim, I got a call from the grandmother. Dylan has this big day. Could you help me search for him? Okay, so he's with Jim, and Jim is just kind of like acting like, well, what's the big deal? Here's his truck. Obviously, he parked it. Did Jim have something to do beforehand against Dylan with the grain property area, with the boots being tossed out there behind that dirt pile? Jim is saying, hey, Don, you know what? He's a young kid. He's got everything loaded up. He's probably walking. He's probably in Montella. Don't worry about it. I think it might be possible that Jim was trying to convince Don no big deal. And that Don then said, oh, yeah, no big deal. Everything's probably okay. I think Jim might have been the one who convinced Don it's no big deal. Just speculation.
That's a very good point, because I did hear there's some discrepancy of what, and maybe Salty, if you're still in chat, you can put the answer to this that that you believe, but there is some discrepancy between when Jim said he was with Don on Saturday and when Don told the FBI Jim was with Don on Saturday. So I think I'm probably have these hours wrong. So again, Salty, if you're in here and you know these hours, please put it in chat. But that I think Jim had said that he was like with Don from like 1 to 9 or something like that, and Don said no, he was with me from like 2 to 4. So he was only with Don for a very small slice of what Jim said he was with Don.
I had heard.
Kathleen has it.
I heard that it was later said that Jim was actually with Don from 3 to 9 p.m. So we have all these different timestamps. It would be great to nail it down.
Yeah, Tree J says, none of this so far would warrant the FBI getting involved in this case. I said that last night too, and I have that on a slide coming up, Tree J, because I said that too. I said, you don't typically see, other than the cross jurisdiction, you don't typically see the FBI, especially calling it a criminal investigation for what we know. So obviously, I think there's got to be a bunch of stuff we don't know. I said the same thing last night, because it's just, there's so much in here that is interesting now in retrospect, and it's kind of suspicious in hindsight. But at the time, until you start looking at how weird all of these things are, well, of course, obviously that's kind of silly of me to say. I'm sure the FBI has been looking at how weird these things are extensively as well. But it is just strange to me. I do still find it strange. I agree. I guess my point, Tree J, is that the FBI is got so involved so quickly, even though it was across state lines, that they got involved and called it a criminal investigation so quickly. All right, so on May 30th, this is where we left off. We're at 10:45. We're 2 hours and 45 minutes in, and we're where we left off.
Holy moly.
So we'll go probably for about 45 more minutes. So Patricia, I'm just going to let you in the chat rattle off questions to me now that we've kind of caught up. Oh, the boots are the next slide, and we did actually finish that one. We just skipped this one. Actually, I don't think we skipped this one. I think okay, hold on. Take that back. Monday, May 30th, Grandma reaches out to JD, who reaches out to Candace. So she calls Dawn on Sunday. Dawn didn't call her back again until Monday. Why the delay? I think, Patricia, your answer, let's put a question in here. Did Jim convince Dawn this was nothing to worry about? So Kurt claims Grandma also called Kurt and then he called her back, told her last time he saw Dylan was Friday night. If this is true, then right now, oh, okay, so that's an interesting thing. Has Jim ever said whether or not he saw Dylan Saturday?
Big question. That is key.
Yeah, that just dawned on me that we don't know what Jim has said about that morning.
That's right. Or that day, or the day before, or the day after. We don't know what Jim has said, what he knows. That is a big blank thing for me. And in the meantime, if he was directly involved with something that happened to Dylan, Jim wouldn't be saying to Dawn, oh, yeah, there's something to worry about here. Oh, there's this reason to worry, that reason to worry. Jim, if he was involved, would have, before Dawn connected with Jim Brenner, Jim would have been saying, I got to get rid of evidence. I have to plant things that take away from anybody suspecting me. Okay, we know that it's been said that Jim Brenner's truck could run for 20 minutes, then it overheats. Okay, well, what if he used Dylan's truck? What if he was able to go get Dylan's truck, get Dylan in the truck, whatever condition, take Dylan to a location, dump him, put the truck back. Now, remember, it did rain heavily in the afternoon of that Saturday. So here's Jim trying to get rid of evidence, get rid of Dylan, blah, blah, blah. And then along comes Dawn saying, Jim, I got the call from the grandmother. We need to go look for Dylan. We don't know what's happened. Jim knows all this time what he did. The boots are thrown out there on the other side of the dirt pile. Jim knows what's happened. And wouldn't it be just like a criminal who is involved to try and manipulate the situation to convince Dawn, oh, it's no big deal. You know, it's Dylan. He's young. Okay, he's got the grain truck. Everything's in there. He's out, partying. He's out with somebody. No big deal. All that time, Jim knew that he was involved, that he did something. And so now we have before everybody shows up on Memorial Day, Monday the 30th, Jim has already covered his tracks. He's covered everything. He's placed the boots out there. They didn't go looking well enough, Don and Jim, to find the boots before Candace and Justin and the search party found the boots. Jim had enough time to get rid of Dylan and the evidence. That's what I'm thinking.
I absolutely think so. And I think that's probably, and again, speculation, why the FBI, and we'll get to that in just a second, officially named him a person of interest. I bet
Yes.
he won't give his whereabouts I bet he's staying silent. I bet he won't tell where
Absolutely.
he was, what he did, or anything.
Yep. This is where Jim will not talk about it. And so all we can do is what we're doing. We're kind of looking at the timeline and speculating. But Jim has the answers. I've been saying it for almost a month. I believe that Jim Brenner is directly involved, whether he had help or not. Jim Brenner quickly tried to cover up evidence, quickly got rid of Dylan. Whether he had help or not, I don't know. But Jim didn't have time or the body physically to go drag Dylan all these different yards and yards and football fields, yards into an area where there's a mine shaft. Jim had to put Dylan somewhere much closer. And I appreciate everybody that's digging into the mine shafts and everything. But if you think about it, there's one guy had to drag Dylan all that way, and there's no drag marks. There's nothing else. Jim had to be able to put Dylan somewhere quickly where he would not be discovered. And it's not a mine shaft. Not if Jim acted alone. My thoughts.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I want to just segue for just a second because, again, there's a couple of people saying, why don't you ever talk about Aiden? I think I probably talk about Aiden more than anybody else talking right now about this stuff. I've talked about him several times in the stream tonight. I'll reiterate, just I'm trying not to sound impatient, but I keep saying it. I talk via Facebook with his mother, Amy Clune, a little bit. She's been ill. We're working on having her on the show to tell us how we can help her as soon as she's feeling better and feeling up to it. But we talk about Aiden on almost every stream that we have. Not as much because it's a different scenario, right? It's a different scenario. Aiden likely, very likely, I mean, obviously there's other possibilities, but Aiden very likely it went off on his own, under some kind of mental issue, and hopefully is still alive somewhere. But there is some suspicion, that he went off to unalive himself. I don't believe that personally for some reason. And I haven't really asked Amy about that because I just don't feel like it's the right thing to ask. But I have talked to her several times, have offered her to come on anytime she wants, and she can have the whole show to just talk and say what she wants to say. But she's not feeling well right now. So if we want to help Aiden, what we can do right now is pray for Amy to feel better quickly so she can be strong again and get back to doing what she needs to do to figure out what happened to her son. And we are here to help her and give her that voice, or give her that opportunity to share her voice whenever and when she is ready.
I agree, Kim. And we are praying for Amy. And I believe, Kim, that when she feels better, and your constant communication with Amy, that we can have a live stream. It's very similar to what we're doing now. Let's shelter Amy. If she does come on this live stream, let's shelter her. Let's not have people coming in, making accusations, making speculations that are really bizarre, really hurtful. Kim, I think what you're doing in connection with Amy, I would want to build her up. I want her to know that, yes, we care about her son, Aiden, and that we are not going to drop the ball, and that given the opportunity, we would welcome her to come on this program and with you, Kim, be able to discuss the whole situation. What are her thoughts? What are her theories? What are her concerns? What evidence is she kind of hanging her hat on? And what can we, in a scenario like this, present questions that may lead to finding Aiden? And so, my heart goes out to her, Kim, and thank you that you have not, dropped the ball, that you, out of love and concern for her, are keeping in contact. And Amy, if you're listening, I don't know if you are, we love you. We love your son, Aiden, and we care about what's going on, what has happened, and we embrace you. And if you feel led, contact Kim, and we'll put a little shell of protection around you so that we don't have things that are off course that are presented in our chats, in any questions that come up. We want to protect you as a mother of a missing person.
Amen. Yeah, that is for sure, because that's one of the things, I keep telling her, I'll check in with her every few days, and sometimes she responds and sometimes she doesn't. And then sometimes she'll wait a few days and respond, just like I said, we're acquaintances. It's not like, we're not friends, but she does respond to me. And we have talked a bit, and I just every few days, I'm like, the offer stand. I know one of the things, she has not said it, but I am sure one of the things that worries her is kind of some of the negative attention that has been cast onto families of other parents. And so that's one of the things, I've tried to reassure her about in my messages with her, is that I will do everything in my power to make that not happen. You know what I mean? And so I agree with the whole, just surround her in protection, because I know she wants to get the story out there. I know she's getting frustrated. I know EquiSearch finally was mentioned, I think, on Duty Ron, the EquiSearch lady that came on, Twyla something, I think her name was. I'm just saying that from memory, so I could be totally wrong on that. But had talked about the search for Aiden. But I know she's frustrated that
Can you
she
imagine?
yeah,
Can you
I know.
imagine that? I mean, here is a young man, and he has put himself out in an area. He's reaching out for help, but yet he's not trusting people around him. This is a medical issue, you guys. But does that diminish his importance? Absolutely not. We all know people. I have family members who have medical issues. If there is a problem with regulating medication, if there are people around my family members where they are suddenly not trusting, they are not sure on what they should do, where they should go, embrace them, you guys. I'm talking about people who matter to God, people who matter to the family members. We cannot disassociate with people who have any kind of medical situations Maybe there is a problem with the medication. Maybe there are things where it goes off course with the medical situation. We love them. We care about them. We want them to be well. And when they go missing, oh my goodness, all the more are we going to reach out to the public and say, can you help us find him, find her? This is what's going on. And so Amy is a mother who loves her son, who has communicated with her son, communicated with friends and family, and suddenly this young man goes off on his own. He is being tracked by law enforcement and he's totally disappeared. That would break my heart if that happened to one of my family members. I don't want people focusing on this, that, or the other thing. I have a family member who's missing. He needs help. Help me find. That should be the focus.
Absolutely. I totally 100%. I want to stand up and applaud. Absolutely. I totally agree. And Megan R, I know they kind of that's I think the poll, what he meant is like starting with the facts and trying to stay around, like form our questions around the facts. Cause I agree. I think speculation needs to be a part after you start with the facts and you don't go too far off. But I think you have to speculate what the facts mean. And if I had to sum up what we're doing, I think that's what we're doing is what you're saying, Megan. I think we're trying to speculate what the facts mean or could mean. What could they potentially mean? So I agree with you. I know why that poll. I agree. The poll was a little bit confusing because
agile development. Like every day, some new information comes in, so you have to change your perspective or your positions on what's going on.
Yeah, putting it in a software developer's perspective, which Keith is, he was saying it's like agile development where every day new information comes in, and so you got to continue to kind of change your perspective and in the way you look at different facts, and then eliminate, like Honeybee is saying, you basically eliminate what doesn't work and then you branch off from there, and it's how you do brainstorming in business as well. So it's a very valid process, and it's not for everybody. I mean, some people want more entertainment, some people like this. It just depends on what your personal style is and what the way you like to do it. So yeah, Megan, no, Megan, that was a very good statement. I totally agree. That poll was, it was hard for me to answer too. Tyler put up the poll, but I agree with you. Is that's what we're doing, is we're starting with the facts, and then we're kind of going, what could all of this mean, and what questions do the facts bring about? And so now we are at Monday, May 30th. We're kind of like back to where we started. So what I'm probably going to do, and I don't know how Tyler's going to feel about this, and so I can't promise this, but what I would like to do, and we'll see how he feels about it, is wherever we get tonight by 11:30, I would like to see if Tyler would. I know he'll probably want to put his header or footer on this, and that's obviously fine with me. I did this for him for the channel, but what I would like to see if he's maybe willing to do is to take this, put his header and footer on it, and then put it somewhere, on his website or either on a Google Doc or something where we can kind of, people can download it, can add their additional questions, and then email it back to him, and then I can combine it. And so the next Tuesday, actually, I won't be able to host next Tuesday. I'll be in Washington, D.C. But next week, maybe he'll let me do Thursday. Then we could put it all back together and add the questions that way, because it's so much. When we come back to it, we're not going to be able to recap. So I'd like for anybody who's interested in this, what we're doing is be able to have a copy of this, add their questions, email it back to us, let us combine them, and then next Thursday, if he's willing to let me do next Thursday, just pick up where we left off. Because otherwise, I don't think we'll ever get done. Michelle Lamont, are you in Washington, D.C.? that's where Keith and I will be next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What? Okay, Tiffany. Keith told me I missed something from Tiffany. Let me scroll back up real quick. Tiffany, where was Chase? Oh, was where Chase was at or walking on the way to where Candace was? Huh. I don't know, but we'll add that. Let's see. Where was okay? So was where Chase at or walking near where Candace was. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Tiffany. That's an interesting question. I definitely don't know the answer to that question. And Cricket Moon says cold cases are solved with fresh eyes for a reason. And I agree with you. I mean, this respectfully, I have trouble with most of his polls. There's always a middle point I wish I could select. I'm kind of the same way. And Tiffany, did I miss another question of yours? Because you said, look at my question. So there's that one. Okay. Maybe she dropped him off so he would have an alibi. So Tiffany, you're kind of thinking that did Candace know? I keep spelling her name differently. I'm sorry, Candace, if you're ever looking at this. I spell it two different ways. I spell it with an I and with an A sometimes, and I apologize. Did Candace know Chase previously? Is there a reason she would want him to have an alibi? Now, I will say, Tiffany, I don't think so, but I could be totally wrong. So I won't. I will definitely add that to the questions because I don't know. I mean, it doesn't feel like it for me, but I that could be. Okay, let me see what let me get back to where I was. Okay. So we're here. They arrive at the farm and find okay. So Monday, May 30th. This is when Candace and Justin arrive at the farm. They find trying to figure out where Dylan is. A missing person is a report is filed by Candace with BSO during the drive down. They arrived to find the seed truck had been put in the shed. Dylan's truck was at his trailer, had been pressure washed supposedly. The seat position was moved very far forward to accommodate a shorter person. There were no tracks or footprints. Why did Candace really report Dylan missing en route to the farm? That was a question from last night. I put a question mark there because she did it en route to the farm, not after they'd gotten there. So she was obviously already worried enough when they were on their way down there. Of course, I would be too. I would be wanting to report him missing the minute somebody told me they couldn't find him. How often did the family visit the farm? We kind of know that that's not very often, supposedly. Did SAR arrive Monday? How so fast? Did the family know Dylan lived this way? And I'm assuming the person that wanted us to add that question is talking about the condition of the trailer. And I will tell y'all, our oldest, when we went to his apartment to move him home from his freshman year of college, it was not, he lived with two other baseball players. It was not, with the exception of the food on the counters, was not a whole lot different than that trailer. And I think that's just a sign of age and not being there very often. You're always kind of in and out, and you're probably staying other places. And anyway, I was shocked. I thought if I wouldn't have known better, I would have thought that that apartment of those three baseball players had been abandoned or something, and somebody, a band of migrants had moved in. It was awful. But so anyway, I'm not surprised.
Can I interject something? I was thinking about this point. I'm looking back when I was much younger, and I had an apartment. I didn't have a dishwasher, and my kitchen was not in order. I'll just put a mild understatement there. But when I had company coming over, I immediately had to go in, and it took me at least an hour to clean it up. Now, this is when I was a little older than Dylan, okay? So here I am, and now you can't do a white glove thing in my home that I live in, but through the decades, I have cleaned up. I have been more in a schedule of cleaning, more disciplined. But when I was a little older than Dylan, I can't say that my place was totally in order until I thought, oh my goodness, I've got company coming over. So I am not going to look at Dylan like he's totally unusual for a young man, a young woman at that age. So that's my confession, you guys. I can relate.
Yep. It didn't surprise me. People were like appalled, and I was thinking, well, I'm not, because I know 3 young freshman baseball players who were, A-B students and good kids theoretically until you saw that apartment. And I mean, I remember walking in with Keith going, oh my. It was just so bad. It was so
Yeah.
bad. Anyway,
Oh, the
and I mean,
things that, to me, I could look at that and I could be, my nose up in the air and like, oh, that is so awful. But then I had to look back and I looked at what I was going through, what my condition was. And it's not that I meant to be a messy person. It's just that I was busy. I didn't really care because nobody was coming over to inspect my kitchen, inspect my home, until I knew they said, hey, we'd like to come over and visit you. And it's like, oh no, And so then I had to scramble, clean everything up, and like, oh yeah, I always live that way. Not true.
well, Tyler Feller just sent us a super chat, and he said, "Hope everyone is having a great night." Super chat train. We are, Tyler, having a very productive night again. We're enjoying going through our timeline, although we haven't made a whole lot of forward progress. We've been adding not our timeline, our list of questions, our question list here. I've got a big old deck to talk to you about that. We've been adding to the parts we've already done. We haven't made much forward progress, but we are coming up with some really good ideas, really good, solid information. We have been drama free now for 2 nights. And so we're doing good there. And everybody's saying hi to you in the chat. Honeybee, thank you for your super sticker. We appreciate it very, very much. And I hope y'all are having a great time out there on the living room tour and doing your thing for the Lord. And we're glad to be back here supporting you, and just hope everything is going smooth and fun, and just having a great time of fellowship. And everybody is saying that in the chat as well. And so we have a relatively small group tonight here, but we've had about a steady 500 people. And again, it has been drama free. And I will take these 500 people any day with the kind of conversation and input and exchange we've had over, some of the drama that we've had on other nights, maybe. So it's been a great night. The entertainment was good for a while, but we're really getting stuff done, I feel like, so yeah. Cricket Moon says interesting folks in chat. So really, really, really good night. Holly says, did I hear right that the Elko County Sheriff had gotten fired a while back after Dylan came up missing? I haven't heard that. So I'll put that on our miscellaneous questions down here, because that is a good question, but I haven't heard that.
I thought that he resigned.
Okay.
Right? If somebody wants to, maybe after this live stream, even right now in chat, make a comment with verification. I thought that he resigned. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Pressure. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. Oh, I missed a lot of chat. Okay. Sorry guys, I missed a lot. I didn't realize it had scrolled down on me. But let's see if I think everybody's just been kind of chatting with Tyler. Brian's life. Here, let me help with drama freeness. Joking. Funny. I like that. Tiffany says, tinfoil hat here. Maybe something happened. Mother came and trashed everything. They left and she dropped him off on the way out. Just confirming if where Chase was walking to her location. So Tiffany, if you can leave in chat, what makes you think that maybe they knew each other? And I understand you're speculating. I don't know where the foundation of that is coming from. So I'm interested, like, what makes you think that they maybe knew each other somehow? And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm genuinely curious why you think maybe they might have known each other. So let's see. Little Lady D says, I think that sheriff knows a lot about what's going on in that town. In small towns, that happens a lot for sure. Mickey said, could Dylan have left willingly with someone and got killed or hurt somewhere else? I think that's totally a possibility. I think we actually even have that. We did have that in the miscellaneous questions. Did he leave willingly and then something went wrong? Okay. Oh, wait. Let's finish Monday the 30th. We're at 11:16, and Keith and I have to be up early in the AM to get to office, so we're going to have to end it at 11:30. So let's get through.
Kim,
Monday.
can I just quickly say something?
Sure.
I haven't said anything to you or to anyone, but I have been having problems with the hernias that I have. There was a prior hernia that I had a patch operation done years ago, and I went ahead and I lifted something that was 20 pounds. I have a bird sanctuary here on the property. I lifted a 20-pound bag today, and it hit the area where I have the patch that was done in surgery years ago. It hit the iliac nerve, and I haven't said anything. I've been sick to my stomach, Kim, and I'm in a lot of pain. No, there's been pauses where I could run to the bathroom and I've been getting sick, and I'm in a lot of pain. And so I appreciate everybody that is putting in all of the questions and comments, but I'm at a point now where I have to go live because I'm just not feeling well. And I'm at the point now where I'm probably going to need to stop, and I know it's probably
that's fine.
Good timeline for you and Keith to probably get off soon, but I'm in a lot of pain. So prayers I would really appreciate, and I may not be able to stay on much longer.
Yeah, you go lay down. I'll finish. I
want to be able to pray at the end. I'm just putting it out there. I'm in so much pain. And so I just want to say that, Kim, I'm so sorry. I hadn't said anything, but I just felt like I better say something now.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, guys, let's go ahead and end it here because Patricia wants to pray us out. I'm going to talk to Tyler about getting this up somewhere where people can download it, add their comments, and send it back to us. Yeah, Jen is saying you might need to go to the doctor, but we're going to go ahead and end it here. Let Patricia say her prayer because I know she gets as much out of praying for us as we get up. But Patricia, don't make it long. You need to go lay down. All right. So please stay for the prayer, and Patricia, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody. Father God, I lift up everybody in the chat. I lift up Kim and Keith. I lift up Tyler. I lift up the movement church. And Father God, I just say, bless each one. I see the heart. You are showing the heart of the people that are here, who care, who love, who want answers, who support the families of these missing people. Father God, I just thank you for each one. I lift them up and I say, Father, in your love, in your mercy, bring answers. Bring answers for Dylan. Bring answers for Aiden. Bring answers for all the missing people out there, Father. You know what's going on right now. From the end to the beginning, you know what's taking place. You know what's involved. And we just ask you, Lord, bring answers so that people who are searching, people who care, are going to know what has happened, who's involved, Father. You love us. You created us. You have brought us into this existence and in this time. Father, we love you. We appreciate everything that you've done in our lives. I ask you right now that you bless Tyler. You bless those who are in the movement church, those who are meeting in living rooms, those who pray, those who have questions, those who make comments here in the chat, those who are in Feller Fam, Father. You see their hearts. Bless them. Encourage them. Each one, Father, that they know you are real, you care, you love, and you will be the one who brings the complete answers to everything that we question. Father, I thank you that everyone, and I include myself, Father, who need your healing touch, who need your answers, your divine intervention in our situations in life, whether we are so close to you, so far away, or anywhere in between, Father, that we need you. And we are calling upon you, Lord, to draw us closer to you, that we will please you, we will serve you, and that we will be with you forever in eternity. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I hope Patricia's sending all of our prayers to you as well. Go to the ER if it gets any more significant. Please take care of yourself, and Keith and I will pray for you tonight. I'm sure there's Kathleen Hutchison says if the pain worsens, go to the ER. Just take care of yourself, Patricia. Thanks for being here, and you should have told me. But I love you. And we'll be praying for you. And as Mama 4 Rose says, in Jesus' name, amen. Father God, lay your healing hands on Patricia Wade and all those suffering tonight. So, Patricia, you go lay down, and we thank you for being here.
I just want to say, you know what? I'm not the only one. Amy Heights, she needs prayer. There are so many people in our chat on Feller Fam that are asking for prayer for all their situations. And so I thank you guys. I thank you for prayer for me, but it's not just about me. There are so many people. And I thank you that you have so much love, that you have the heart of God, that you join in agreement for us to be healed, delivered, set free, and that answers to prayer will come forth in the name of Jesus. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right. Good night. Good night, sweetness. All right, everybody. So I'm here. I hate that Patricia feels so bad, and I hope you will all keep her in your prayers. And I will talk to Tyler about how we can get this out. Maybe he can put it on his website or in the community tab of his YouTube channel. Somehow we'll figure out a way to share this, let you add your questions and then email it back, and then I can combine it. And then maybe next Thursday night, if I can get him to switch nights with me, since I will be in DC, we can come back together with and pick up here on Monday, May 30th. But remember, tomorrow night is Faith Friday. If you like the faith-based nature of our channel and you are, wanting to experience a little bit more of that, we invite you to join our Faith Friday. It's non-denominational. Tyler does a short message and then does a time of prayer where people can call in, request prayer, and people will pray for you in the chat as well. It's just a really nice time of fellowship and definitely, again, drama free. And we invite you to join our Faith Friday. It's usually either at 8 or 8:30 Eastern, 7 or 7:30 Central, and he'll post that when he knows what exactly time he can start. But we invite you to join us there. We thank you for being here with us tonight. Thank you for, really focusing on this with us and maintaining. Everybody in the chat was amazing. Great questions, great contributions. Just a very productive night again. And we will once more try to figure out a way to share this document with you, and so everybody can add their questions, send it back. But with that, thank you. After we close down the stream, please make sure to leave a comment on the stream. It's another way that helps the channel grow within YouTube and helps other people find the channel. And with that, I will say good night. Thank you again for being here, and God bless.
God bless you, Kim. Good night, everyone. Thank you.